It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 199. I'm Mel. That's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we like. I realize that Bob left the work phone in the background, so if you hear a whole lot of noise back there, do not be alarmed.
That's okay.
How's it going, Sam?
Well, we got 11 inches of snow yesterday.
11?
Yes. And so you will probably hear blowers. Neighbors are out blowing their car. It's all powdery snow, but I mean, we are not planning to go anywhere for a few days anyway. We're not going anywhere. But our neighbors are out. Some of the ones who are going to try, I guess, to go to work tomorrow are out, like cleaning their cars off, sweeping, or blowing off their cars, because like I said, it's super powdery, so it's easy to just get off with a blower.
Are people using their leaf blowers really to like blow it off? Because you guys don't usually have that kind of equipment in your cars.
We had historic snow yesterday. We haven't had this much snow since 1880.
Okay, I was gonna say, like,
and so
you guys, like, if you see snow at all, usually it's like a dust here and there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few inches here and there. Like we had a few inches a few years ago, but this is on top of the ice from last weekend. So there was still ice in my driveway that didn't melt, and so that's on either side of my car. Like, it's not behind my car, but it's on like the sides of it, like around it. So now there's snow on top of that. But we have, because even pulling my car further down the driveway, because it was just not getting warm last week, it was not melting the ice. And so, and it's going to be in the single digits again tonight and tomorrow. Like we may get above freezing tomorrow afternoon, maybe, but we've not been above freezing for the last few days. So
I feel really like, because
there's people at the beach got snow. Like the Carolinas are covered in some kind of snow. Like apparently some of the snowstorm went down into Georgia. And so but the beach has snow, which does not have, and they have 50-mile-an-hour winds on top of it. That's blowing wind and sand everywhere. So now they're getting snow drift on top of the thing. So it's it's a mess. So we have people. So if you may hear a blower and stuff in the background, and you may hear my dogs, because people are outside, so the dogs are barking a lot. So I apologize in advance. We'll try to mute it quickly. But so the neighbors are out, and some of them offered to come over and blow snow off my car. So I told them, I was like, I mean, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. I mean, I'm not planning to go anywhere. I have enough groceries for the next few days. I shouldn't need to leave my house for any reason. So, but I was like, since they're offering, I told them that they could come on by. And so you may hear some stuff. Yeah.
It's so funny because you guys aren't prepared for it. It's not the kind of weather that you guys like out here. It's like we don't have to move our car because we have salt and we have snow blowers and we have things in our car all the time that we use to like wipe the snow off our car and scrape the ice off of it, and because it's very normal for us to have. That's what's really weird about that. So we've had the longest streak. It's either in history or in a really long history downstate here, especially of days of snow. It was like 14 or 16 days. It was like past 2 weeks, and it did snow yesterday. And then I don't know, it may or may not snow down here today. However, we have less snow than you do, if that's true.
Yeah, there are some places in the state that got 16 inches of snow yesterday.
Now, that being said, it is approximately exactly, and not the good -1 out. And the only reason it brings me joy to look at my weather app and see -1 is because it makes me think of Brody Lee Jr. every time. And then I remember it's the weather, and I'm like, And with the wind chills this past Saturday, -25.
Oh my God, that's insane.
But I saw you guys in the teens and like 20s, and the fact that it wasn't getting warm I was like, oh dear God.
No, it's gonna be bad. Like it's supposed to get down really like yes, was it a couple days ago it got down to 12 degrees. They're expecting single digits again tonight. Like I said, we may get above freezing tomorrow afternoon. We might get to 34, I think is what they are saying. But it could be a couple of days. And then, yeah, I just pulled up this graphic. So yeah, yesterday we got 11 inches of snow. That was the first time that we've got 11 inches of snow since 1880. And then in February of 2004, we got 11.6 inches. And then way back in 1902, we got 14 inches.
That makes sense, though, because of the industrial era and stuff.
So,
the 1880s all the way through the, 1900s, that actually makes sense that there would have been a climate uptick because of industrialism and
yes,
all the crap that they were pouring into the rivers all through there and through up here. It's crazy. Yeah. Sorry, I've been reading again, Sam.
I saw Nikki's. I'm glad she said this, that she was late because she said Roman decided to venture out, and we'll see how long that lasts. Because I have my blinds partially open, I just saw Roman walking down the street. So
he's like, I'm not sure how I feel about any of this.
He thinks that this is personal, that we have personally done this to him.
Of course.
Last week he was super pissed because it was ice. Right. This week, he's not been happy about the snow. He held his pee all day. Roman was a outdoor, he was a stray. And so he's indoor, outdoor. He's gotten where he mostly stays in at night or when it's cold. And so he refuses to learn how to use a litter box. So Nikki had the actually really smart idea of putting dirt from our garden in it. Except he's been just laying in it because he can't go outside and lay in the dirt. But last night, he finally used the litter box because he couldn't. I guess he just realized because he kept going to the door and he was like, "You've got to be kidding me! Like I'm not going out in this." So I'm surprised he actually left today. I guess because the sun is out, but I don't expect him to stay out very long. And yeah, the snow is so high that Sadie's our newest beagle. The snow comes up to Sadie's chest.
I was gonna say they're pretty low. They have low clearance.
Miley is a beagle mix, and she has tall legs. Like Miley has really long legs, so it's not very tall on her. But poor little Sadie comes in, and her chest is really cold when she comes out. I have to post a video. I did get a video of her running through the snow this morning with it up to her chest. I'll have to post it because it's very cute. Yeah, they are having a pet strike. They are not having it, and they're.
I'm really sorry, and I have the other side of that is I have the two the half healer terrier who is the biggest snow dog ever. She loves this weather. She's out there playing. She sticks her nose in it. I've got when she was a puppy, I have I have video of her playing and dancing, and then the other one is just look, it's frozen water, and he loves any form of water. So
yeah, Sadie, I will take that back. Sadie has been in and out of the snow. Oh, Roman's coming back up the street. He's already coming back up. So I don't know if he went and found someplace.
This not happening.
Yeah, I don't know if he went and found somewhere real quick to do his business and then just come back, or if he's exploring and seeing how far he can go, and he's already turned back around and is walking up the street.
Staring.
But yeah, Sadie's been in and out all day today, and then and then Miley has been eating it. She's been eating the snow off the deck. When we track snow in on the towel, she tries to eat that.
That's good to a point. I found that with mine. I hate when they eat snow because if they eat too much snow, it's not good for their body temperature, but it's also not good because it makes them throw up. So,
yeah, she's not eating too much, but she would when it was thawing and when it was fresh, she was eating it. I've only seen her eat it once. I actually haven't seen her eat it all today, so maybe she's over it.
Yeah. She's like, okay, this is cute the first day or so.
Right. I was like, oh, you're going to hate it because it's going to be here. They're saying even with it. Yes, exactly. Definitely don't want them to do that. But yeah, it's going to be, with it being so cold all week, the snow is probably going to linger. Even if it's melting in some places, it's probably just going to be in certain spots where it doesn't get as much sun or around my car. And so yes.
That's crazy. It's crazy because it's not supposed to be like that where you are.
No, not at all.
Blowing my mind.
Happy early birthday, Zach.
Happy early birthday.
And
very happy birthday. Lots
of
January, February types.
I forgot to say that at the beginning, but also happy Black History Month. And also saw that AEW posted their Black History Month graphic real early this morning, where other companies are not so good at doing that. And their graphic is all their Black champions in ROH and AEW. I was like, that can't be a coincidence that they did that. I feel like that was purposeful.
I mean,
Which shout out to them.
Business is business, and why not? I mean,
the point is because the other company,
well, of course,
because with his I don't see color, and
right.
then how he books Black wrestlers and champions, and so I felt like
they are notoriously terrible at doing
right.
that.
So I felt like that was a deliberate choice.
To
put its only champions from ROH and AEW in that Black History Month graphic. And so I felt like it was a very deliberate choice.
Look at all of our champions we've already had. We only have existed for this long. We have a whole poster's worth of guys to put over first thing today.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to.
Right. They sure did.
That doesn't exist, Fernando. Come on. That's a myth.
Yeah, and you'll see the interview that we're going to play shortly. It was funny because I told her ahead of time before we recorded the interview last Tuesday. She's in Australia. And so I was telling her a few days prior, hey, we're expecting ice. There's a possibility I'll lose power. If I do, maybe it's not back by Tuesday. Do you have a different day that will work? And she was like, it's funny that you say that because it is so hot here that we might lose power. And she said it got to, they were expecting temperatures of over 110 degrees. And when I interviewed her on Tuesday night for me, Wednesday morning for her, she said that it had been the day before had been the hottest day. Or no, Australia was the hottest place on Earth the day before. Wow,
it's bad. Like the summers have been both southern and northern have been ridiculous, and the fires and the
I know they've been dealing with a lot of that too.
So like it's been happening down there during their summer, the same as it's been happening with us, and it starts earlier. Like this year in Michigan, and the year before, and the year before that, so the last 3 years, we've had the big wildfires that have been up in Canada and stuff. But that stuff's just been, I mean, this summer that blew all down into the southeast Michigan. I mean, it was horrible here. The last time I saw anything like that was like when I was out on the West Coast with like city smog type stuff and everything, or when those forests burned down, because But yeah, I mean, it sucks. I wish that we had done something about this sooner, because we definitely understand why it's happening if you have read and believe reading and science and stuff. But I don't like it because we are built for that. Like, we have snowblowers, we have all of the things that you need to subsist. And I'm not saying that you guys are helpless, because obviously it's the 21st century, but largely it's shitty for the environment, or for the
right. Yeah.
It's bad for the environment, it's bad for the economy, and it's bad for the humans. So it's all bad.
Yes, it's all terrible.
And especially that economic piece, that's the part I'm like, okay, listen. If you can say nothing else, you guys have got to admit this is hitting your bottom line.
Right.
Like, come on. That's like the one thing you care about. You're losing money over here by not doing something about it.
Exactly. Yes, it's very bad for pets and just animals in general.
Yeah, and then you have to get the salt. It's just like, and then if you're like in a place like yours, it's like they're not going to order a whole bunch of salt into South and North Carolina.
We ordered pet safe salt or ice melt a few days before the ice came, because everything here was out, and then it was supposed to be here the day after, didn't come. Then it was supposed to be here the following Thursday, which would have been great because it'd be before the snow. Still doesn't come. They don't know when it's coming. And we could ask for a refund, but at this point, we're almost thinking we're just going to let it come, because if it happens again, or if it happens next year, we'll have it.
You'll use it.
Because we've tried using cat litter, but that messed up the deck when we did that. And then you can use sand. But we were just like, at this point, we've already ordered it. We might as well just get it. There actually was a guy though. There were two guys. They were very smart. They went and bought ice melt. He said we imported. He's like, this is imported from Kannapolis, which is a city that's about 45 minutes from here. But they were walking around the neighborhood and finding like looking to see who had ice, and they offered like for
oh, that's nice,
for like $20. They were like, we'll put out some stuff for you, and they actually tried to help me get some of the ice stuff. They were like, do you have a shovel? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, he was like, I'm gonna try to break up what I can, because if I put the salt down top of this ice, it's not gonna do anything for you.
It's too cold.
So he broke up as much ice as he could, and he was like, no wonder the stuff isn't melting for you. And so he broke up what he could and put salt down. So I was like, you know what, I'll pay the $20 because I was like, I still need it. And so they iced it. And so I was like, they were smart. They were just going around the neighborhood and making some cash or making a little bit of money by it. And I was like, it worked out for me, because I was like, none of the stores here still don't have anything from the ice storm. So when we don't.
Okay, next time you need to talk, because I live in a state that has lots of that stuff in back stock.
I was telling Nikki, I was like, we need to start. Well, but see, the only thing is like
a UPS or a USPS,
right? And that's the thing, like Home Depot and Lowe's and things, they don't carry that stuff in the spring. Like it's not like we can just buy it on sale in the spring and just have it for the winter. They don't carry it because they don't.
You're not a winter state.
There's no reason to stock it. So
whereas we have it. They start putting it out in like September, or they'll throw it out on sale in like March, April. We'll have like big sales on it because, of course.
Fernando, I bet you have spent a bunch of money on tires in that weather. Oh, bless you. I know that's a pain to have to go through. I know that struggle.
It's not supposed to be there, which means your infrastructure isn't built for it, and it's just a big pain in the behind.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, they definitely do.
Yes, they both are awful, and fuck them both. That's that might be our F-bomb for the show, but it was
that's okay.
Well worth it.
That's the one I wanted. That's an F-bomb you can spend every time.
Yes. So since we've spent some time chatting, and obviously we are going to get to the other topics. We definitely are going to talk about AJ. We talk about Chapo. Yes, ice is okay.
Fair.
Yes,
the only acceptable ice.
I was going to say the only acceptable one is definitely ice. So yeah, we definitely are going to talk about Chapo. We're going to talk about AJ Styles and all of that stuff. But before that, we're going to go ahead, since you guys, when we talked to you before about how you would prefer interviews, we are going to go ahead and play the interview at close to the early part of the show, I should say. And
we're going to play it for you coming up here.
We're going to play it yes. Right. Exactly. Kudo Ice and Brody King, the only Ice and King we celebrate. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But we will, that way, if you guys want to give any feedback or ask any questions, we can do that. And then we'll get into the other topics. And so we recorded this one because of the time zone, because when I told her, I was like, oh, we live stream at 1:00. She's like, that's like 5:00 in the morning for me. So we were like, we don't want to do that. So the interview, we're getting ready to air it out. Introduce her obviously in the interview as well. But Scarlett Harris is an author and a writer from Australia. I have actually interviewed her before. I interviewed her back, 2021, somewhere in there, I want to say. I interviewed her because she has a book called A Diva Was the Female Version of a Wrestler, an abbreviated history of World Wrestling Entertainment. It's a really fascinating book. It goes back to covering obviously it is abbreviated, but it covers a lot of wrestling, going back to, I want to say like the 40s. And it's been a while since I've read the book. I want to say it's been like, I think it goes back to starting in the 50s and then goes all the way up to about the time that the book came out. And she just talks about women's wrestling and how it was perceived, and how it was treated, obviously, and how it was presented and things like that. And obviously, it is kind of viewed through a feminist lens, which I guess that's kind of how we do it here too on this show. So Scarlett is great. I was really excited to talk to her again, because obviously the Royal Rumble was in Saudi Arabia yesterday, and up until they've had shows in Saudi Arabia, but they've typically only featured maybe 2 to 4 women. I think maybe one show had a few more women on them, but it's generally been, not a lot of women. Yesterday was the first time they had 30 they had 30 women obviously on the card, with it being the Women's Royal Rumble yesterday. So we talked about all the women. The men don't, even though there are modesty laws that apply to men, WWE has ignored it, and they still just wrestle in their trunks. But the women obviously have to be covered from the neck down, and they have to have special gear made, obviously. And so now you have that times 30 women, and so we talked about like the cost involved in that, and just about women's wrestling gear in general, because she wrote an article for a really popular, it's a podcast, and they have a Substack. It's called Articles of Interest, and it's about different things relating to fashion. And so Scarlett wrote an article that went out yesterday about talking about this very topic. And so she wanted to come on here and talk about it with us. And so that is where the idea for this interview came from. And so if you guys are ready, we will go ahead and play that for you. Hopefully I'll get this screen right. And we'll be here in the chat, so obviously you can still talk to us in the chat. And then, of course, if you have any questions or comments following the interview, we'll talk about that before we move into some other topics. So I am going to go ahead and play this for you. Hopefully this will play right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special interview for Powerbombshells. I am Sam. That is Scarlett Harris, who is the author of A Diva Was the Female Version of a Wrestler, an abbreviated history of world wrestling entertainment, and also the editor of The Women of Genji Kohan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Scarlett's work has also appeared in the LA Times, Jezebel, BBC, Time, The Daily Beast, and much more. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Excited to be here.
Yes, and so Scarlett and I actually met several years ago when I interviewed her for her book that I was mentioning, A Diva Was the Female Version of a Wrestler, and we had a really great conversation. And is that book still available for people to get?
Yes, it's still available through Fayetteville Mafia Press, which is the publisher, and that would be preferable to The Bad Place, but I believe It's also available there.
Okay. Yes, please, if you can, please don't go to The Bad Place if you can help it, but we understand sometimes things negate that, but if at all possible, definitely try to support other forms of getting books. So as this is a wrestling podcast, I would want to start off with, how did you get into wrestling, especially being in Australia?
The way most people do, I think, being shown it, tape trading, like after school at a friend's house. I just stayed with it a lot longer than, everyone else, and eventually made a career out of it.
And so over that time, how has your fandom changed, and has your career affected your fandom?
Yes, very much so. So obviously when I got into it, that was like the heyday of like the Attitude Era and stuff. And, the representation of women wasn't great. Although, I guess I wasn't necessarily thinking of that at the time. And then, sort of fell out of love with it for a few years, and kind of started getting back into it around Total Divas and then the women's wrestling evolution. And, by that time I'd identified as a feminist. I was writing, feminist articles and stuff. So those two kind of things coalesced, and yes, very much changed my perception of wrestling. I feel like for a lot of us, it's a kind of love-hate relationship, hate a lot of times, and, increasingly more so. So, sometimes I wish I could go back and like not look at things through like a social justice lens, whether that be wrestling or just like anything. It'd be great to just put your head in the sand sometimes and not have to look at everything that way. But yeah, I can't really turn it off now.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm the same way. Sometimes I wish, I'm like, wow, I wish I didn't watch wrestling or consume media in this way, because sometimes it makes it difficult to enjoy, or you see these things that are happening and I wish I could turn away. But then on the other hand, like, I know that I have a platform that I can use to talk about these things and bring attention to it, especially when people want to. And I get it. I understand, especially now in this dumpster fire that, is happening. It's easier to use. I mean, you want to use wrestling in particular as an escape, but also they are going to places like Saudi Arabia. And they're participating in sports watching. And then you have, all kinds of things that are happening just in the wrestling. And it's only been, I guess now we're only 6 years, or not quite 6 years removed from speaking out, but then you have wrestlers who are still trying to get involved. We had in a situation last week where somebody who was named and speaking out posted a picture with a very popular wrestler in AEW, and then also they had backstage some wrestlers named and speaking out who were hanging out backstage, and it's like, do you people need a refresher course in who was named and speaking out? And so it's just, so they give us, it's hard to look away when they are kind of putting it in our faces still. And so it's just, but yeah, like we said, we at least now have platforms and where some people will appreciate what we're doing and what we're saying and what we're talking about. And it is, like you say, I mean, it is something, sometimes you do critique the things that you love. It's because you love them that you want them to be better and to do better. You don't, it's not like we're critiquing them from a place of, because we hate it. It's because we love it so much that we want it to be better and to improve and all that stuff. So it's it certainly can be a very difficult thing. And especially like you said, once you start viewing things through a different lens, it definitely becomes more difficult. And then going back to your fandom, I believe you went to WrestleMania, correct? The one where the women main evented. What was that like? And how did that, like, being a wrestling fan at that time, like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy and kind of perfect, and I would never do it again. Not least of all because I will never go to the US again, at least while things are the way they are.
Completely understandable.
But like it was a whole week of wrestling, and as a introvert with social anxiety, I was like, yeah, cool, but I'm never gonna do that again. And I met like a whole bunch of awesome wrestling people from the US. I'm sure like people listening to your podcast would recognize from the internet. So it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of perfect that it did happen to be the first women's main event. I had already planned to go to WrestleMania regardless, being in New York, my favorite city. I was like, all right, cool. New Jersey. But marketed as New York. So I was like, I'm already going. Like I'd already planned it for years. And then, Survivor Series the year before, like there started to be some whispers about maybe Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey would be like the first women's main event, and I was like, hell yeah, this is all going to coalesce and be absolutely perfect. Of course it was WWE, so they just wanted to have like so many fingers in the pot and ruined it by putting Charlotte Flair in there, who I genuinely do like, but just having like all of those stories going on that didn't quite work. Kind of maybe ruined it a little bit for me, having all of the women's titles in the one match instead of, spreading them out across the roster was also annoying to me. And then the finish wasn't that great. It also ran over like several hours, and by the time we got out of there it was raining and we couldn't get an Uber, and I think I was home by 2 a.m. or something. So probably would have been all in all more fun to kind of just watch it on pay-per-view. But now I can say I've been to WrestleMania, and how many people can say that? So
Yeah, WrestleMania was a bucket list item of mine, but then things have changed within that company, and if I can help it, I will never give them my money again.
Yeah.
So that is no longer a bucket list item for me, but it was for a while. But I'm very. It's cool though that you got to have the experience and to be there for that, because you can say I was there for the first women's main event, and then. Of course, since then, it doesn't look like women will be main eventing WrestleMania anytime soon. Just because of the way booking is and the way that they have. It used to be that, the women will, if they, they win the match of the Royal Rumble, which meant that they would get a main event, and that hasn't been happening the last couple of years. And with the show being in Saudi next year, I absolutely don't see that happening. So it seems like it'll be a while before it happens again. We may get another Evolution show before we get another women's match main eventing WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So one of the topics that we're going to talk about today is about women's wrestling gear and their ring attire and how they present themselves, which has definitely evolved, obviously, since the early days of wrestling, but even since just the 90s and the 2000s, how much that it has evolved. And so what do you think women's wrestling gear represents in modern wrestling?
Well, it's funny. I right before I on this podcast with you, I actually interviewed Mackenzie Mitchell, who's coming out with a book about wrestling gear, and this is for a piece that we will talk about soon, so I won't spoil it. But we just kind of had a chat about like that, the evolution of women's wrestling gear, and as you said, like in the 90s and the early 2000s, like wrestling gear wasn't really a thing for women. I mean, you had a few women like, Trish Stratus and stuff like that who kind of did have the whole gear, but oftentimes it was like streetwear, talking about Lita, who does have, an identifiable kind of look that she really was able to harness streetwear and fashion into her look. But often you just have like women wrestling in bikinis or like random clothes that you could buy at the mall. Like it didn't seem to be like as much of a cottage industry as it is now. And forgive me, what was the second part of your question?
Which is what do you think it represents in modern wrestling now, the gear, and how much of it is their their persona or their identities or the character there, or even how it incorporates their character?
Yeah, well, and that's what I spoke about with Mackenzie. So, we were saying sort of wrestling gear now is part of the character. It is the first kind of thing that people see, along with, especially for the women, hair and makeup and stuff like that. It's a lot more intentional now, I think, than it was back in the day when, like women's matches were, like 30 seconds, a couple of minutes. Sometimes they are now too, but that's a separate issue. But now, like, it's real kind of utilitarian gear that's purposeful, that looks like it's made specifically not only for that wrestler and their character, but like for being physical in the ring, instead of just some random outfit that could fall apart the slightest power slam or whatever. So
Yeah, and like there's Wrestling Wind Down, which is a podcast here, and Lo has been, on our show before, and she kind of, that's one of the things that they focus on, is kind of like the fashion thing. And she was just, she posted Charlotte's gear from SmackDown last Friday, and it was like, she had her hair pulled back so that you could kind of see like it had how the top was like covered, like the entire outfit was covered in rhinestones, and it was just like a random SmackDown on a Friday night. Like, and she was talking about how Charlotte always makes it feel like an event. Like, she like some wrestlers will make their gear feel like it's not just a random SmackDown on a Friday night in whatever city. Like, she actually puts like thought and effort into this gear. And so she's obviously someone we think about, especially because she comes out with the robes like her father, but she also has the giant feathers, and she always seems to really put a lot of thought into it. And then of course you have people like Bianca Belair, who makes her own gear, sometimes makes her husband's gear. And then she makes her own outfits, and just to have that kind, and she's talked about like staying up like hours before a big pay-per-view match, that she was putting her outfit together at the last minute, and it's just the dedication that these women now have for their gear, and it has become such a big part of them. And so like we are talking about how, you know, obviously this weekend at the Royal Rumble is obviously in Saudi Arabia, and the very first women's match only happened in 2019, so it's fairly recent, and it was Natalya versus Lacey Evans. They're wearing t-shirts over their clothes or their gear, and it's just very bulky, and just was really just, I think, kind of really drove home the point that like women aren't supposed to be wrestling in this country, because look at the way, like, it looks like they just threw on some t-shirts, and it's just very, especially when you see them maybe the week before in the US and they're wearing their normal gear, which obviously it shows more skin. It's more probably easier for them to move in. I'm sure wrestling and what they were wearing was probably uncomfortable. So can you talk a little bit about like how now they've obviously their gear, more women have been wrestling in Saudi, so it still fit with the cultural and maybe religious norms, but also still have their own identity. So can you talk about like just even from 2019 to what we're seeing now with their gear?
Yeah, for sure. So, those first few matches in Saudi Arabia were stark compared to what the women are wearing now. And I'll be honest, I haven't, and I think this is probably the case with a lot of progressive wrestling fans, I haven't watched any of the Saudi Arabian shows. So this is just going off clips of online and stuff.
Same.
I will watch the Women's Royal Rumble this weekend just because reasons. But
understandable.
you know, and I think I remember seeing a clip of Naomi versus Bailey, I think, which might have been like the second women's match there, and still they had to wear the oversized t-shirts. And I remember it actually impacting their performance because their like knees and things were getting caught in the t-shirts. So, you know, it's not only like a modesty / women's rights issue, it's a safety and performance issue.
Sure.
So it makes sense that from that just from that aspect that they would now be wearing proper customized modest gear that covers their whole body, so essentially bodysuits, right? And yes, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with them wrestling in Saudi Arabia because of the human rights abuses, not only women's rights, but queer rights,
right.
Forced labor. There's been that viral image of the temporary stadium for Royal Rumble erected in 3 weeks, and how did they do that?
Right, exactly.
So, all of those things, and the fact that that WWE continued with their show like a week after Jamal Khashoggi was assassinated. All of that is puts a really bad taste in wrestling fans' mouths, I think, to put it mildly.
Agreed.
But, if we can put all of that aside and just look at the wrestling gear in a vacuum, I guess it's interesting to see some of the ideas that the women's wrestlers are coming up with for their gear for Saudi Arabia. Like one I really, really liked was Liv Morgan's Britney Spears, oops, I did it again, inspired red catsuit. That was one that really stands out to me. But like I said, I haven't watched any of those matches, so I don't have like a encyclopedic knowledge of the other catsuits. I talked with Mackenzie Mitchell and actually had a copy of her book that I read last night. And another one that was quite interesting was Becky Lynch did like a tuxedo inspired one, which was kind of cool. And kind of playing with that gendered you know, she's the man. Men usually wear tuxedos. She's forced to cover up in Saudi Arabia, so she's gonna like spin that back and do like a menswear inspired catsuit. So that is interesting. Just in a nutshell, or in a vacuum, as I said. But yeah, there's a lot we can talk about from other aspects with the gear that they're forced to wear.
Yeah, absolutely, because it definitely, and I think one of the other ones I was thinking about was like Nia Jax, I think had some gear that like, because she already had, it's just, I forget where I was going with this, but Nia Jax was somebody that stood out, I think, with the full body suit, and to see, and then, so this weekend, so we've normally only seen, you know, a handful of women in these matches in Saudi Arabia, and this weekend we're going to see 30 women who will be coming out in gear and how much of you do you, because Royal Rumble is such, it, you know, is typically seen as one of the big 4 pay-per-views of the year, even though it's in Saudi Arabia, do you feel like the women will try to incorporate gear that, you know, fits their personalities and their personas or characters, and also meets like the, you know, the obviously the standards that they have to wear there? Do you think they'll just kind of wear just generic, like maybe solid prints, or just, you know, kind of taking the personality out of it? Or do you see that all, you know, maybe all 30 women just kind of go out there and put as much personality in it as they can?
Yeah, I mean, I think the latter, especially, like, as you said, this is a big 4 pay-per-view, and I feel like it'll sort of be a dress rehearsal, pardon the pun, for WrestleMania next year. So they are going to go all out. But that kind of begs the question, what's the hidden cost here?
Yeah.
And that's what, when the Royal Rumble was announced to be in Saudi Arabia, like a year or 2 ago, that was the first thing that popped into my head, because I'd kind of been thinking about this. And then I was like, okay, so it's 30 women. That's like the whole roster.
Right.
So what cost does this have? Like, just on a basic level?
Sure.
Like these days, as we were kind of talking about, like everyone has custom gear for like every show, basically. That's not a cheap part of the job. So yeah, it kind of got me thinking, all right, like just it's literally more fabric for the women versus the men, who have never had to be covered, despite, from my understanding, Saudi Arabian modesty laws apply to men as well.
Sure.
But they've, you know, men just wear their regular jocks and call it a day.
Right.
You know, so that's really what inspired me to write this article that I'll be having coming out over the weekend for the Articles of Interest Substack. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the podcast that's related to that Substack, but it's hosted by Avery Truffleman. It's quite a popular podcast about just like the hidden histories of fashion, basically. It's a very good podcast, so if you haven't listened to it, I would encourage everyone to check it out. But so I you know, reached out to a bunch of wrestlers, obviously not currently contracted to WWE, because we know they're not going to talk about that, but I was like looking at women who were previously with WWE, who have previously wrestled in Saudi Arabia. So people like Shayna Baszler, Indy Hartwell, just a couple off the top of my head. I think there were 9 in total. I reached out to all of them. I heard back from none of them, which is not surprising, just given wrestling. But I was really interested to be like, okay, so like, are there contracts, the other women's contracts, is there like a gear like stipend or stipulation in their contract for the extra cost that this custom gear is costing them? My guess would be no.
Also my guess.
But you know, that's something that we have to look at, because like on one hand they're using the, like, you know, oh, women are equal now, they can wrestle in Saudi Arabia, like, you know, and it's like, well, yeah, what's the, like, are they actually like getting compensated for
Right.
operating at a loss, basically.
Right. Yeah, and not all 30 women who are in this Royal Rumble are at the level of a Becky Lynch or a Charlotte Flair or even, an Alexa Bliss who can maybe afford gear a little bit easier than maybe someone who's coming up from NXT, who is on a lower tiered salary, that they may not, have the funds to go towards this, or that how much is that going to blow like an entire paycheck just to try to get, gear that they can wear in the Royal Rumble, which, and again, this is a Royal Rumble match. So not all, sometimes we're lucky and one or two women will be in there for 45 minutes or so, but most of them are only going to be in there for 2 to 3 minutes. And so that's another thing. They're spending all this money on this gear and they're going to be in the match for just a couple of minutes or maybe even 30 seconds. And they're having to, and they're not, and are they being compensated for it? Which, like you said, my guess is no, they probably are not. It's probably, they may have a paper, I'm sure they'll get their normal pay-per-view appearance fee, but how, like you said, is that going to offset the cost that it took to get that gear and to get specialized gear? And like you said, not only is it gear that they have to look good in, but it's gear that they have to be able to wrestle in and so they don't get caught in the ropes or in shirts and things like that. And so, and you want to have, I'm sure as a wrestler, they want to have that identity and that character, but also it's got to be affordable and it's got to be within such strict guidelines that they make sure that they don't do anything that would be deemed offensive or could get them in trouble. Exactly. So it definitely is I think maybe a lot of people may not think about asking that question, but it is a really important question for women to see how they're compensating, because like you said, the men don't have to worry about that at all. That's not something that probably even crosses their mind. They may think hey, I'm going to get some cool gear, but they're not gonna they're not gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars for extra fabric, like you were saying. It is definitely something that's a conversation that I think it warrants a discussion, especially if we're going to continue, because WWE is scheduled to have 3 pay-per-view or 3 shows in Saudi Arabia this year, and then of course WrestleMania next year, and so that goes back to what we were talking about with personality and things like that, because like you said, Royal Rumble is one of the big 4, but WrestleMania maybe not as much as it used to be. I know when I was really watching as a teen and in my early 20s, WrestleMania, they used to go all out for their gear. Every single wrestler up and down the card had really cool gear. They used to have special entrances, all of that. And so we've seen that a lot of wrestlers have gone away from that. Maybe we get 1 or 2 wrestlers who have the really cool entrance, but do you think maybe this is kind of a test run for women, and obviously WrestleMania is not going to have nearly as many women on the card.
Exactly.
We'll be lucky if we get 2 women's matches on the card next year. But do you think that maybe even WrestleMania will be affected by by the gear, the gear requirements, and B, the money to go into their gear?
I mean, yes. Not any more so than the Royal Rumble, though. I think, as you said, it's just based on the numbers in the match, the sheer number of women that will be wrestling for the Royal Rumble. I think on a grand scale, the Royal Rumble will have more impact, not only because, as you said, we know there's not going to be as many women's matches on the card because A, it's in Saudi Arabia, and B, the last few years since women main evented WrestleMania, was it 36? I can't even remember now. And then the 2021 when Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main evented night 1. It's that's the best we can hope for, is that women main event night 1, which everyone knows is not as important as night 2. Right. You're equal now. What more do you want? So
exactly. We had to beg for them to be able to close. The fans had to make a lot of noise to even make that match be a main event match.
Yeah, exactly. Well, both Becky, the triple threat, and Sasha and Bianca. So, I mean, it just goes to show that if any change is really going to be made, it's probably going to be from us, like as fans, making noise on social media, or protesting, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
But in this day and age, when like WWE is like literally in the White House, I don't, and America is fascist now. I don't think they're even going to care. Like, they don't care. So
They don't. Yeah, they've always pretended to care, and like that's what we kind of. It's always the like, especially with like even the evolution that they did last year. It was announced like just a few weeks in advance. It was put on across the street from a Beyonce concert. It was the same weekend that MLB was having their All-Star weekend, which I know like maybe me and a couple other people only would appeal to all of us, is Beyonce, wrestling, and baseball. But like there are a few of us who are cross-sectioned there, but like it was very much a here, damn, like stop asking us for it. Here you go, leave us alone. But then of course the women delivered like they always do. But you can definitely tell that like this show is definitely going to be, look at all this progress we made. We started out with 2 women wrestling in 2019, and here we are in 2026, and there's 30 women.
I can see the video packages now.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure with, Stephanie McMahon being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, and she created women's wrestling in WWE. So I'm sure she's going to be out there, well, I don't know. Will she even go to Saudi Arabia? Maybe she'll just send her husband, but it's just, yeah. And so is there any other things that you want to talk? I mean, I know obviously we'll direct people to your, to the Substack for articles of interest. Is there anything that, that we didn't really discuss that you want to mention that are, that's in this article, or anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered it all, but yes, people can, read the article for me talking about this much more eloquently. So that you'll have all the links, so I won't bother talking about them now, but go to the show notes or whatever it is they say on podcasts,
right?
But I just want to say thanks for having me on. This has been really interesting to chat about. I think it's important to keep kind of talking about these things, whether that be like women's wrestling in general or the Saudi Arabian shows, and then, the intersection of them both. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to talk to you again, and definitely we will make sure we post the links to that Substack so that if our viewers want to check out more. And again, this is a topic that's going to keep coming up because they're doing 3 shows in Saudi this year. They're doing WrestleMania next year. I'm sure they've got more shows on the docket. I don't see their relationship, even though I think it was like a 10-year deal. I'm sure they're gonna renew it. I'm sure this is maybe we'll get some answers on like if these women are getting any type of stipend or reimbursement or something, or maybe we can get a former wrestler who will decide to one day talk about their experience and what it was like trying to get gear made and how much they were spending and all of that. But it is an important topic, and so I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much. And make sure that you do follow Scarlett on Blue Sky, and also subscribe to her Substack as well. She is doing all kinds of cool work, not just with wrestling, so make sure that you give her a follow. And thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Sam.
Oh, I should unmute my mic. Hi.
I gotta do the same thing. So I'm gonna put up here. I've got the link to her article that's in the Articles of Interest podcast, their Substack, and we'll also post it on our social media as well. And then Scarlett's Substack, you can also so that article is not on her own Substack. That's on a different one, but this one she has her own Substack as well. But she interviews like all kinds of cool people, and she's always like, I'm always seeing her do cool stuff pop up, and so I'm really glad that I got to talk to her about this. And so, like I mentioned in the comments, So 2 days after we recorded this, an article from Fightful Select came out, and I DM'd her and I was like, "You're never gonna." I'm like, "Guess what? Guess what's in the what they talked about?" And so, because she mentioned in the interview, she reached out to 9 former WWE wrestlers and didn't get a response. So she was saying, I'm not surprised.
I wasn't either.
But yeah, so here the from Fightful, it says that so first of all, WrestleVotes Radio on Fightful Select spoke to a talent involved in the Rumble match for this week. This obviously yesterday. It says that talent said the same parameters were still in place. The talent said that there was no coordinated effort to make sure that anything was differentiated from others in the match. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful spoke with the talent who said they were responsible for paying for and having their own gear made for the show to fit those parameters. And it does not sound like they get a stipend. They are they're paying for this gear out of their own pockets.
When you brought that up, I noted that on my notes. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
That is messed up on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we, ladies, go pay for your own oppression?
Right. And again, like she mentioned, like there are morality laws for men, but WWE does not follow them. The men wear their normal gear. Maybe it's special gear because it's, for the Royal Rumble, but it's still essentially trunks. They're not, so they aren't having to pay that extra money to cover up. They're not having to pay the money for the makeup that the women are having to do themselves. I mean, of course they do have makeup artists, but the women, WWE, it's on, I can't remember which show. It wasn't on WWE on Real. It was on something else, but they talked about how the women had to, I don't know if this is still the case because this was a couple of years ago, but the women were having to take classes to learn how to do their makeup so that it would pick up on camera, but they were not allowed to be traveling through the airport without makeup on or to be going to their hotels without makeup on. The women had to constantly be, when they were on the road, they constantly had to be in makeup. That way if fans wanted to take pictures or if they were spotted taking pictures, they had to be in full makeup at all times. And so again, I don't know if that's still the case, but I know. And so they were having to they brought in one of the makeup artists who I guess is there for the show to come in and teach the girls in NXT how to do their makeup so that they always, we're always ready to go. Again, something that men don't have to worry about at all.
And if they do, they have actual, there's a team of people that are following them around. Not they teach us how to do it. There's 10 guys around it. This is something that we've talked about in women's sports for the longest time. Go into a men's locker room, then go into a women's locker room. Mm-hmm. They are not the same. There's no ice baths in a women's locker room. There's we don't have the athletic trainers on hand and the massage tables and the hot tubs and everything else. We have a shower and some lockers, and it's night and day. And that's, that analogy has never really it's gotten a little better, but it continues to be this. The men would have a team of artists around them doing that for them all the time. The women have to learn how to do it on their own.
Right. Exactly.
We should probably know how to do makeup anyway, right? Because we're chicks and that just comes inherent.
Right. And we should want to, because we're women, we should want to wear makeup at all times. We should like to wear makeup on an airplane so that when we land and while we're going through the airport and we need to make sure that we're ready for photos. When people come to hound us for our autographs that they're going to turn around and sell on eBay, we have to look good.
For them to make money off us, for them to exploit us.
But if we try to have an OnlyFans where we are in control of the content that gets put out of us and our bodies, then we get shamed for it.
Then
for us taking control of it, taking care of our own money, and then we refer to people some fans refer to people like the former Cora Jade, who is back to using Elena Black. Some of them are referring to her as an OnlyFans wrestler because after she left WWE, she had the audacity to do the same thing Mandy Rose did and put out content on her OnlyFans and do wrestling matches in whatever she wanted to and control it and make her own money, but we have to vilify her for that. But if TNA turned around and TNA wanted to put that content out for her and only she only got a percentage of the money, then that would be okay. But
I think
not
you said the
for her to
word.
do
The
it
word is
herself.
control.
Yes.
And that is I think the fundamental premise, like even the folks in the chat were making some of this conversation, is
right.
The fundamental premise here is about control. It's controlling what the women do in Saudi Arabia, like subsequently WWE, obviously they have that whole background of the control dynamic. I mean, it's wild. Them having to pay for that is just a giant kick right in the box. I'm sorry.
It really is.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
there's no way that a dude would even agree to that, let alone have to.
Right. Thank you, Crash. I definitely, Scarlett was the one who actually reached out to me for that one, but I'm really glad that she did because it was a great topic, and I always enjoy talking to Scarlett and getting her point of view on things. And it is something we don't really think about, and so I definitely, we'll, do.
I like when you do interviews.
We'll definitely bring in more interviews for sure, and then if we can make that happen. And I'm glad that you guys are enjoying them. Michael said, I don't really follow WWE goings on, but how much do they get paid for these Saudi or how much do they get for the Saudi shows? I have no idea. And why are the talent paying for anything? That is because because there's not unions. And that's not ever going to happen, probably in our lifetime, that there will be a union in wrestling. But I assume that that's part of it. But I'm not sure if they get I don't even know if they get paid like a hazard pay for like going into a country like Saudi Arabia. I'm assuming it's just an extra. I mean, I guess they just get paid for going. I don't know if they get paid anything additional. I mean, Royal Rumble obviously is a pay-per-view, and talent generally, unless this has changed and it could have. I know in the past that generally you get, if you perform on a pay-per-view, you get additional payment. You get a bonus or whatever it is. So I assume they get that, and maybe they're like, it's in your bonus. Like, you're getting a bonus for coming. We're flying you over here to this country. You're getting a bonus for performing on this show. You can pay for your own gear. It's probably how it goes. Down. Again, I don't know.
They are fundamentally independent contractors, so you could pull that off with them.
Yeah,
that's.
So,
I mean,
they pay for like
actually when you think about it as just a 1099 employee, because they can sort of get away with that because their attitude is you write it off of your business at the end of the year.
Because they in WWE they are independent contractors, and so
they're not permanent employees. So
unless it's somebody who has it, who is big enough. I mean, again, I don't know what's in Roman Reigns' contract, but he's just obviously. So I don't know. Maybe Roman Reigns has it in his contract, like you pay for all my travel and my hotel. But most of these talent, they pay for their hotel, they pay for their cars, they pay for all of these things. And
planes,
so
their trains, their whatever, their gas, wherever they're going. I mean,
and so I'm sure they're like, well, you're an independent contractor, you can just write it off.
Right.
Well, you're a business and you could write it off. But like that's the thing is like, but that's why it was like a big thing. If
you can write it off and you have capital to begin with.
Right. And AEW pays for their talents, hotels, and their flights and things like that. And it was like a really big deal when that was happening because. And then, like, even, I mean, the clip got deleted, but, like, Bayley went and did that interview, I think, with Fox Sports News a few years ago, and she was talking about how they pay for all of their travel and don't have a union. And the woman interviewing her was, like, shocked and appalled. And so that's, par for the course for WWE. And so that's why both of us were like, we're guessing there probably is not a stipend. They're paying for this gear out of their pockets. And so some of these women in NXT are not making the same things that Becky Lynch makes or Charlotte Flair makes, or, even maybe Asuka or somebody of that level. Like, they're not making that type of money. And I guess maybe they had a few months, and I don't know when some of them found out they were going. So did they have to like expedite gear getting made? And so that, do they have to pay extra to tell a gear designer, hey, I have to have gear that's going to meet these parameters, and I have to have it by this date because I'm going to Saudi Arabia by this date. And so are they having to pay that gear maker extra money to get it to them faster? Because I'm sure some of these women didn't know. I'm sure obviously the big name women probably know, like, yes, we're going to be in this, but for some of them, when did they find out that they were going? And
somebody who wears custom garb as part of their like hobby time, it's not cheap.
No,
It's
No.
not. It's the simplest, even a piece that wasn't directly made for you that you buy off a rack at a vendor booth is not going to be inexpensive. It's just pricey.
For sure.
Handmade, custom, anything custom stuff, because it's custom. That's the entire point. It is going to last. It does come with a guarantee, but it also takes a human being time to make it, and that time has to be paid for.
Right,
So
exactly.
Cheap.
No, and like Michael said, WWE is probably getting a ton of money for these shows, and the talent risk their lives to entertainment should be coming out of their pocket, and the Fed should pay. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, and I know cosplay, I know that stuff is not cheap. And then, like you said, it's got to, not only does it have to look good and meet these parameters, they have to be able to wrestle in it. They've got to be able to move around and do certain things with their bodies. And then, like as I mentioned in the thing, some of these women are only going to be in the match for 2 to 4 minutes. And so they're paying out of pocket.
Will reimburse us to
all this money, and then I'm going to be in this gear in a match for a minute and a half.
But you get to put your personality into it.
Right.
Shut up. My personality is, I don't want to pay for this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That, people are getting mad at a woman for controlling her, that control her own body for monetary gain instead of the corporate powerhouse are controlling her body. Exactly. I've seen comments about when she was signed or when she actually debuted in TNA, I saw people calling her an OnlyFans wrestler. And they did the same thing to Mandy Rose. I mean, that whole thing we talked about Mandy getting fired, and because she was making a shit ton of money. And that was even before they fired her, and people, even more people knew and subscribed. She was already making a lot of money, and they were mad that it all comes down to they weren't getting a cut of it. And so they thought that they owned that character because they owned the name Mandy Rose, that they should be the ones to, to benefit from it. But and then of course some of these men, because it's male fans who say these things, that they're like, she's just doing this, of course, calling her all kinds of names. And so just referring to her as an OnlyFans wrestler because, she had the audacity to take control of her.
Usually their own insecurity.
Because they want to turn it, but they can take the pictures they want and then turn around and do whatever they want with it, but she can't do it herself.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and Crush says Saudi will pay whatever it takes to whitewash, greenwash, sport wash their image. That's priceless to them via golf, soccer, and football, tennis, and F1. And they appropriate it all and flip the hypocrisy back on Western culture. Yeah, for sure. And like, I saw someone yesterday who puts, it just happened to come up in my timeline. It was a fan who was at the show, and like, I guess they were walking out afterwards, and they had a sign that had AEW's logo on it, and they were asking AEW to come. And I was like, no. Would I be surprised if AEW ends up there? No, because the way that this all works, Tony has even said he has not outright, initially a few years ago, he did say, he made jokes about it, was like, no, we would, was like, couldn't be us. But then somebody asked him about it last year, and he definitely seemed to have changed his stance some. So if AEW ends up having shows in Saudi Arabia, I would not be surprised. I'd be extremely disappointed. And I hope that they would take fan feedback. Because they typically do. The AEW takes fan feedback they take that into consideration way more than WWE ever has.
Certainly, I mean, that's certainly true. I can't.
So I would say that much. But then again, Americans are not their only fan base. AEW is trying to, and obviously they're expanding. I don't know. I don't want to speak for European fans or Australian fans or fans in other countries who may not think of Saudi Arabia the way that we do. So I know that there's also that consideration. And then, you have he's also involved in the NFL and things like that. So would I be surprised if it happened? No. Would I be extremely disappointed and disgusted? Absolutely. Would I have a lot to say about it on this podcast? Absolutely. So, yes. Yeah, WWE has definitely become a pawn, and they're as Scarlett said, they're in the White House. WWE is in the White House, so there's that part of it too. Not only do they have this 10-year deal with them, but You have Linda McMahon who works for them. You have Triple H making videos for the White House about your health, which of all people to be putting up, who knows what he had been putting in his body back in the day, but now he wants you to be healthy. And then you also have like the UFC, who obviously is owned by TKO. You have the UFC is going to put a show on the White House lawn. So like they're in it. And so there's no denying how
the veil is off. We have now, they're openly at least saying the quiet parts out loud that the White House is just a big giant part of the corporate machine. It's just not very, like she said it, America's fascist now. I mean, it is like what are we going to do?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was reading some of the comments. I was going to go back up here to what Brad said. Brad said there was an article recently that BJ posted, but money could start drying up and Saudi golfers are starting to jump from Live back to the PGA Tour because they're running out of money. I feel like before that article, I feel like I'd seen something recently-ish about how they were running out of money because they have spent so much trying to make this happen that
they over leveraged themselves basically.
Right.
And didn't get enough return on it, so now they're tanking.
Right. Yeah,
which is the best possible outcome in the end of the day that we can hope for, because then that will mean that things start to abandon that. The American-Saudi relationship goes back to the 1890s, actually the 1850s. Like, we are in no way about to detach ourselves from having a relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, sadly. Unless like Americans largely came to their senses and started reading and comprehending what they were reading en masse, which I love, but no. So like we just have a relation. We have our own currency with them. Like it's because of the nature of the relationship. And if you Google it, you can see it. There's plenty of people who've written books on it. It's just unfortunately, until that happens, until it becomes something where American business goes, oh, this is more trouble than it's worth. We're bailing out of this.
Right.
That's kind of the best thing you could hope for. That's best case scenario, is that they finally go, this is too much money and the backlash is too high and people aren't into it and we're not making money doing anything else. Let's try something else.
Yeah.
So. Also, it could be on the opposite side of that, is that they are selling their tickets at such extraordinarily high prices in the U.S. that they're going abroad quite a bit to try and use other markets.
But they're also, from what I understand, like they're European. They were pricing European fans out of it too. Like last year, there was quite a few WWE wrestlers. I mean, I know what's happening in AEW too with that some of the European, but in WWE last year, people were talking about how they were priced out of the European shows, and if they had been planning to go, and tickets were like $900 for 2 tickets in the nosebleeds, and like they had planned to go with their dad, and because their dad had never been and had like been a lifelong fan, and they couldn't go. So I mean, WWE is pricing them out overseas as well.
Companies are cutting off their noses despite their stupid faces. If you you lower the prices, you get more people in the stadium, you're more likely to sell out.
Right.
But what do I know? I'm just some chick that reads.
While we're on we are going to talk about some fun stuff, but while we are on the not so great stuff, I do want to bring up, I was trying to pull up the articles that we had. Of course.
It's been quite a weekend for Sex Fest, huh?
Yeah, it sure has. I mean, even prior to this weekend. Let me see. I'm trying to go back. Might have been faster to just.
I appreciate that Scarlett was at. I don't blame her for not wanting to come back to the U.S. after.
No, when she said that, I was like, "No, girl, I get it."
She had to escape from. So when she was telling that story, when she even said it, because I'm like, I'm. It was the Meadowlands years old, so East Rutherford, New Jersey,
right?
But like she said, she had the same experience that many of us had of trying to escape that ridiculous fiasco. And I don't blame anyone from. We had an Irish person with us who had a very similar reaction, who was like, so yeah, I was like very empathetic when she was saying, she was like, and I'm never doing that again. And I'm like, you know what? WrestleMania 35, trying to escape it was enough to make me understand why no one would want to return. I mean, obviously things have happened since then that have made it worse. But if that was the last experience, I could totally understand why you wouldn't want to come back. Like,
right. No, I get it. She said as long as things are there, and why would you want the hassle when they want to check your phones to even enter the country to say if you're saying anything negative about them?
Recommend. Sadly, unfortunately, I even had my friend, and it was like, not this year, friend. Not this year.
Not as long as these people are in charge. Even because I feel like the Orange Man will die sooner rather than later, but as long as Stephen Miller has any access to being in charge of anything, I would not recommend coming to this country.
Yeah, but until the Democrats have something better than the couch effort to like roll out there, then he's probably going to end up winning in a backup anyway. It sucks, but it's true.
Oh, I mean, I don't know that Stephen Miller would actually run. I think he just wants.
No, I'm not talking about Stephen Miller. I'm talking about the vice couch effer.
Oh, I don't think people don't like that. His own party doesn't like him.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, so the also on Friday there was a dump from the Epstein files. They were by a court order. We're supposed to have had all of this released more than a month ago.
Yeah, weeks and weeks ago, right? It's been like a month.
They're not They're putting stuff out. They still haven't released everything. They're not redacting the women proper. They are not protecting the survivors, but they are protecting the men who are in these files. Because clearly the survivors don't matter in all of this, and not when they need to protect politicians and very wealthy men. So a lot of those things are not being redacted. And there was some really awful things about Trump that came up, and that suddenly got deleted somehow. But luckily there were screenshots. But anyway,
the internet is the internet thing. Think everything. And so the internet, if you put it on the internet and if someone sees it for 2 seconds, that is long enough. I appreciate you, Hive Mind. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep keeping the thing in the forefront.
And to the people who are actually taking the time to go through these and having to read these disgusting details, thank you for having to stomach that and then put it out, and even putting it in a way that we don't have to read some of those details. And I appreciate that. But so Max, who is Max Everett, is my friend and colleague at Wrestling Inc. We actually started out at Daily DET together, and then he moved to Wrestling Inc. and I came over later. But he has been covering. He's been covering the Vince McMahon lawsuits like myself. He's been covering a ton of We've been covering a ton of similar topics. So he was going through some of the Epstein files, and he posted a screenshot of one where there was an email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and an unnamed girl regarding meeting Ari Emanuel, who is the current TKO CEO. Obviously, he's also had dealings in the movie industry and in the media industry as well, but those ties are there. So the email just talks about, I'm reading the screenshot, and of course, these are kind of hard to follow, but the girl in question said, Ari Emanuel said that I castrated him on the first date to friends. He's texting nonstop. What's his story? Jeffrey responded, and said, very smart, driven, and fun. Brothers, mayor of Chicago, same. And then he also, or I believe she said back, yes or no, he told best friend that introduced that he is afraid of me, play or not play. And then she said that she's opening a big show on the 14th. We'll send you the rest of the cast. And then Jeffrey responds, slow but yes. And then they're talking, and then they start talking about something else about girls on her that are her age. So there's no further context that has been found, I believe, as of yet in relation to Ari Emanuel, but his name is right there in these Epstein files. And then the other big thing that came out, Max wrote an article about it, and then BJ also posted the emails as well. It's kind of hard to follow, but there's a woman who is listed in the Epstein files, and she has a ton of things that she's talking about, and she mentions the late Ashley Massaro in the email. And she implicates that Ashley Massaro worked for Ghislaine Maxwell at some point, which, given the things that we know about both Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, that would be completely unsurprising. It says, so down here in Max's article, it says, in the redacted complaint, the name of the claimant is kept anonymous, but there's a suggestion that Massaro had formerly worked for Maxwell in a description of the alleged abuse ongoing at Epstein Island. And so this quote says, she mentioned horrible things happening in the island, including the dead body of that girl that had a mask and was tied to a tree. She said that the one from London was very mean, and also the one from Miami. Also that the man, and mentioning some other stuff, and then it just says she was young, a high school student. She said that her friend Ashley Massaro got pregnant in high school. They both worked for Maxwell and Michela from Miami, Florida. So there's also some
wonder about, because of the nature of what went on with her, if that wasn't even deeper state than, because what happened to her was very deliberate.
Yes.
If you read the things that
awful,
but it was very deliberate. And now when you hear, for me, because I read all this kind of stuff in my past, that sounds to me like targeted, like horrible, which makes it even worse.
Right.
Because that sounds like they waited until they were in a country where they could target someone that was a former person that they may even have felt threatened by, utilize the wrestling company to do the horrible things they did to her. And then ultimately, unfortunately, she's no longer with us. She has a child. She had a family. I just don't. The whole thing is really, 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 I don't know. It's very stomach turning, and it's very just struggly. I don't like it.
No, I don't either. And of course, as people continue to go through them, more information could come out, more names could end up being mentioned. Maybe there will be, with the Ari Emanuel thing, that could be it. It may just be the one email where he was apparently chatting up some.
It doesn't mean that these guys weren't rubbing elbows with each other. It's like Weinstein. It's like plenty of people, like for years, people talked about what a pest he was, and no one did a thing. Like everyone, it was kind of like
Emanuel
RB had problems.
Yeah, and Ari Emanuel was in that world for a very long time. Prior to coming to WWE, he was in the film industry
regularly.
Right. So there is that as well. So I did want to, even though it was just a little bit of information, I did want to make sure that we did mention that. And because, as we say, we try to get all the gross stuff out of the way first, and then but we will keep with the WWE theme, because obviously the Royal Rumble was yesterday. I did not watch, but I did make predictions. We, Wrestling Inc., we always do predictions for every pay-per-view, both WWE and AEW. And I predicted every single winner yesterday, including both Royal Rumble winners. I said that Roman Reigns would win the men's Royal Rumble. He did. I picked Liv Morgan to win the women's Royal Rumble. She did. I picked Gunther to beat AJ. He did. And I picked Drew McIntyre to retain over Sami Zayn, and he did.
Wow. It's like the opposite of how we do on AEW for some reason.
Because maybe WWE is more predictable. I was going to say WWE is way more predictable. And I think they wanted to get to Roman Reigns versus CM Punk at WrestleMania for the title. And as my friend pointed out, he was like, yeah, Roman Reigns isn't going to wrestle at Elimination Chamber to get that shot. And I was like, Roman Reigns doesn't wrestle enough matches in a year to be considered for PWI 500. So he's not going to show up where he doesn't have to. Nope. So yeah, this was the easiest way to get him into the title picture, was have him come back, win the Royal Rumble. Now he can claim his title match for WrestleMania. Liv Morgan was overdue. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but I appreciate her work. I felt like this was the right year for her. I feel like I think Liv was the smart choice here, and so it seemed kind of obvious. The only other thing I thought, well, maybe Bianca comes back and they have her win But Bianca did not return yesterday, and it appears that because she was injured at WrestleMania, I believe it was WrestleMania's where she had the finger injury, and she has been out of action since. That finger has given her a really hard time. And so, like, and I'd seen a few weeks ago, and nobody was really sure if that was still she's still in recovery, or hey, we're getting to Royal Rumble season, we'll just it'll be a surprise when I come back. She didn't. The surprise coming back yesterday was Brie. They had not brought Brie. They were mad at Brie because she is married to Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson obviously is all over AEW television, so they would not bring Brie in. They did bring her in yesterday. I don't know if it was, I haven't heard yet if it was just a one-off thing. Are they going to do maybe a little something with her and her sister at Mania? That's certainly possible. Then, of course, Bully Ray being the person that he is, or Bubba Ray, or whatever name you want to refer to him as, of course, got on the Twitter machine yesterday and said that Bryan Danielson's not going to be far behind. And I laughed out loud and was like, please.
Bro, come on.
I was like, the man can't
help himself.
He just no, I'm talking about Danielson. Like, his neck is keeping him allegedly.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about that cover. No,
unless this is the cover for Danielson going back to WWE, which I don't think it is. But he's been kept off the road because of his neck injury. He has not been able to travel because that's why they had Paul White on commentary last weekend on Collision. They brought Taz back last week because Danielson could not be there. Danielson was not there this week either. And so So I was like, but of course, Bully Ray just wants interaction on Twitter, and he wants to have a segment for his show. I'm sure when he comes back on Busted Open, that's going to be one of the first things he talks about, and it's to rile people up. And then you already had fans, because somebody sent a screenshot, you already had fans in his mention talking about how they don't want Danielson to come back because he's a traitor and because he's whiny and because all he does is crap on WWE. And my friend was like, he's actually too nice to WWE even still.
He came back to WWE on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. Every single one of them would be talking about how he's the greatest wrestler of all time. So shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're only saying that because of you're like, oh, let me switch my team color today because I need some engagement so that I can make myself feel better.
Right. Yeah.
All I hear you saying is, I have self-esteem issues.
Brad said someone said Liv winning Saudi Arabia was unsurprising. Yeah, that makes sense too. Yes, obviously, because now she can do the crossover with the Liv Goff.
There you go, Liv Goff, Liv Morgan.
Liv Goff and Liv Morgan. Yeah,
it just make it easy on the advertising team. They don't have to print out so much crap.
Yeah, and also Bully Ray is
that's
helping
what I was
out.
saying.
Bully Ray is currently helping out behind the scenes of TNA. Like, this came out because, like, not only was he on the first show, but he's helping them out backstage. So he's just running his mouth because when people aren't talking about him,
that gives Mike Gilbert lots and lots of material to work with online that makes me laugh. So
yeah,
just keep being you, Bubba, because he'll just take you home. It's fine.
Nikki says, speaking of Roman, she has a mini story for y'all that has to do with our Roman. Well, I guess go ahead and put it in the chat now. I will read it. Right, exactly. Curryhead says somebody is attempting to drive down the street.
Right.
Please be careful, person trying to drive down the street. So Curryhead says somebody to say that Bryan Danielson is a whiner, has not watched or interacted with him. Yeah, exactly. They don't know what they're talking about.
That's what we call
protection. They have never tuned into AEW in all of their life. They are picking probably some clip on an interview where he said something negative about WWE, and now they're like, oh,
and they're in full projection mode, so everything coming out of their mouth is really what they don't like about themselves.
Right. So. Yeah. Now we know why that AMC debut was terrible. Oh my gosh. I had to take one for the team this week.
Oh, you had to watch that?
Person, Liv, who is the wonderful person who does a lot of live coverage for Wrestling Inc. because she was doing Royal Rumble and did Saturday night's main event last week. They're like, we need to give her a day off. And so my editor was like, can you please cover Impact on Thursday? And he's like, I'll give you Friday off. And I was like, cool. And I was like, only for you and Liv will I force myself to watch this. And I was like, thank goodness. I got to see Cedric at least.
That's good. That's
Like,
good.
and it was 5 matches. The women's match included the OnlyFans wrestler. It was Elena Black, but it was a 2-minute. It was a squash match. But she wrestled Ruthie J, who we interviewed on this podcast a few years ago, before the NWA Samhain pay-per-view. And so
right.
I was like, oh, nice, it's Ruthie. She looked really good. She actually, it was interesting because she carried herself with a lot of confidence and almost looked more confident than Elena did a little bit. But yeah, so I had to watch, and so I got to watch the Feast or Fired, which I knew as soon as they got the briefcase. I was like, it's Steve Macklin. And I was right. It was Steve Macklin. He is fired from TNA because there was rumors that he had re-signed, and Deanna quote tweeted it, and she said he did. And so I was like, okay, he did not re-sign. It will be him. He's going. And so apparently I guess his contract is up, or unless, I mean, of course it could always be storyline and maybe they bring him back, but it appears that Steve Macklin is a free agent, which is Deanna's husband. Did watch a Nick Nemeth match. He wrestled BDE, who used to be a wrestling content creator, and then he did actually go back to, like, he did go to wrestling school, and like he's not, like, he actually, from what I understand, actually did put in the work to learn how to be a wrestler, and then TNA signed him a couple months ago. So he, in all honesty, he should have beaten Nick Nemeth, and he nearly did, and it would have made more, I mean, it would have been better, but of course they're not going to have Nick Nemeth lose to some, a brand new wrestler like that. But yeah, the show it wasn't as awful as the first episode, but it was not great either. So, he said, should I at least give TNA on AMC? I personally don't have any. There's some things that are cool. Like, they're doing the system storyline, which happened the week before when I missed it. It had Cedric and Bear Bronson. So Bear Bronson debuted last week, which Bear was in ROH for a bit. His partner did some very terrible things, and he kind of got caught. Instead of just pushing Bear Bronson as a singles wrestler, Tony basically stopped booking him too. He was eventually, his contract was not renewed. He's been killing it on the indies. And so he showed up in TNA last week. He and Cedric kicked out Moose and Fandango, who retired last week, or a few days prior. They kicked him out. And so now they are part of the system. So that is a kind of an interesting storyline. It sounds like Cedric might be getting somewhat of a bigger role, hopefully, and maybe he'll be wrestling more and on TV more, I hope, is the one positive I hope we get out of that. But then they didn't let him or Bear do any talking this week. Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards did all the talking. Eddie Edwards got in that Feast or Fired match. He has a future TNA World title shot, which got leaked on the internet because they didn't turn the audio off during the taping, and so it was spoiled beforehand that Eddie Edwards was getting the world title shot briefcase, but nothing else from that got spoiled. But they are going to be LOL TNA forever. No matter how well they do, they will find a way to LOL TNA. And so Eric Young gets a shot at the X Division Championship, and Trey Miguel gets a shot at the International Championship. So those will be things that will be coming up. The women's division appears to be a giant mess, from what I can see. And yeah, so it's up to you if you want to spend 2 hours of your life doing that. But again, like I said last week, like, I want TNA to be successful. I want them to be a viable option for people to have jobs. Not everybody can go to WWE and AEW, and yes, of course, there's WWE wrestlers. They get released because they don't want to pay them anymore. Then they go to TNA, and TNA pays them less than probably what they made at NXT, but then they get to go back to NXT and wrestle there. So there's that, whatever kind of shadiness they're doing there. But yeah, I mean, depending on what's happening, will probably not go out of my way to watch TNA or watch it unless I have to. Right, to do it for work. But if you would like to give 2 hours of your time to it, then sure. Who am I to say But yeah, Fernando and Maria said it for me.
There you go.
And then yeah, we gotta know
it's
here.
time he can't get back, I guess. Do something more constructive with it.
Yes, definitely. I did see the DPW Forever sign on Collision, and somebody had a DPW flag at Royal Rumble.
Nice.
Somebody in Saudi had a DPW flag. I saw a tweet of it, and then Sam, who also writes at Wrestling Inc., he's also a really big DPW fan, and he lives in the UK. And he saw it. He saw it as well, and so we were both like, "Whoa, DPW in Saudi Arabia!" And we were like, "And DPW is making it onto WWE and AEW programming." So that was really cool. And Adam Priest had a really good match with Okada last night. I appreciated Okada gave him a lot.
Although I have beef with last night's Collision.
Why is that?
I have beef because I don't understand how you debut, and I know Clark Connors has kind of been there before. I don't understand how you debut Clark Connors on Collision like that, like bring him out there like that, have him lose to Darby, and make that dumb move, and then make the right move and give the TNA championship to Tommaso Ciampa, which is an awesome move because he's like going to do his thing where he loves the belt, and we love that thing, but
right.
Why did Clark Connors lose to Darby Allin last night?
Because Clark Connors is not under contract. He's still with New Japan. His contract's not expired yet.
But I'm pretty sure that everyone said it was because New Japan.
I don't think it's expired yet.
New Japan guys were all saying that everybody's
a bunch of New Japan guys who their contracts are coming up soon, but I don't know that it's officially expired yet. I mean, maybe it did. It's supposed to be. I mean, Clark.
I hope that's the reason because if you're like signing Clark Connors,
appreciate Darby Allin getting his ass kicked like that, and I personally would like more of that. I'm sure I'm in the minority among AEW fans. I
didn't like that loss.
Very happy with
being a tap out even more.
I was very glad about that, and I wanted Clark Connors to win. And then of course they had to bring in Gabe Kidd, who I don't have interest in at all, really. Yeah. And so, and now it seems like the two of them are doing so. I mean, maybe the contracts are up, and maybe they're both. Maybe Clark is about to get signed. Okay, Curryhead says that he's heard February 16th is when they're up. They have New Beginning. The New Beginning show is, I believe, February the 11th, and Gabe Kidd is wrestling Andrade on that show.
I'll keep my eyes out, but I'm just like, it's strange because I know that some of the New Japan's got to get their contract stuff all cleared up anyway. I know they've got a lot going on right now. Yeah. So I just I hope that wasn't like, if they end up with Clark Connors, that's not great for trying to push him in the future.
I mean, I thought so. I mean, not necessarily.
It was a good match. I really liked the match. I didn't like the outcome, and I didn't like the tap out.
I would say that Darby, of course, is going to get the win because he's there. They still want to push him, and Darby has said as soon as the match was over that he was coming for the world title. So you can't have him losing to somebody who's not even signed to your company. So I'm not surprised.
I guess I'm kind of
but I appreciate Clark getting in a lot. And they were also, and I'm not surprised because I think that was last week they were in Clark's hometown because Clark lives in no, he's in Vegas. Wait, is he in Phoenix or Vegas? I think maybe it's Phoenix.
I guess I'm just not feeling Darby these days as much as I used to. Like, my favorite part of that whole thing, that phrasing, but when Clark knocked him off the skateboard, that was like the best spot of the night with me, where he was just like, nope, I'm done with you right now.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely think that's why he's coming. I mean, I think he would have been there anyway because I think they like Clark, and I really like Clark.
I love Clark.
I'm a huge fan of his.
I want
but I do think he is coming to be with Tekla. I think that's definitely a big part of the reason he's coming. Brett says, New Japan re-signed high-level talent Chase Owens. Tony lost out on a big signing. Sarcasm.
Thank you, Brad.
At least the one good thing is it keeps Chase Owens out of America, but now I still have to see him in New Japan. And we have well grown past the need for Chase Owens, who, once again, in case you did not know, Chase Owens was named during Speaking Out. So,
of course he was.
And I've just heard awful. I've heard not great things about
That's
him, but yeah,
cool.
he was named as Speaking Out, and
Over
he
it.
apparently has an affinity for underage girls. Is the word that has been around about him. But before we get too far into AEW, we do need to go back to WWE. Brad says that Clark will probably get the deal and Gabe will probably be a dual contract. Yeah, I could see Gabe being a 2 contract dude.
I'm okay with that, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm just a big fan, and I'm kind of
going back to AJ and Michael. I'll come back to your question in just a minute. Well, you know what? Let's just answer it before I get to this, AJ, because I really want to talk about this. Michael says, have you noticed both Darby and Moxley have long dragged out feuds with people, which lasts up to a year? Yes. I don't mind it for John Moxley.
Yeah, Moxley's different. He's in a different.
For John, I don't mind it. I feel like John knows what he's doing. John likes to tell stories his way, which is again why John is not going back to WWE, even though people keep thinking that's going to happen. Again, Dean Ambrose is dead. It's not happening. I don't care for it so much with Darby, just because I'm not a fan of him. Again, he's been named in Speaking Out. I'm just not really a fan of.
It's just been played out. I don't need someone to nearly murder Darby every time. Like that match doesn't. I don't care who it is anymore. I'm just not. It's not doing it for me.
He does do a lot of he has the same formula, and it is a lot of the same stuff, and it's always
like it's not shocking anymore because Darby's going to do some crazy shit and make us think that he's going to die, and we all are like talking. We were talking on our Discord, and it was kind of like, isn't Tony Khan just enabling this guy's like? I
mean, I guess people could say that about Jeff Hardy too, and the things that he was doing. And then it was interesting though that he got his code red out of the way really early. Nikki was like, "Oh, this match must not be lasting long if he's done a code red already." But it's because they ended up spending a good chunk of time outside of the ring and just beating the crap out of each other. Actually, it was mostly Clark Connors beating Darby up for like 95% of that match, which again, I would like to see.
That part I did like. I just didn't like the outcome, I guess, but it makes sense. I mean, you're right. Okay, so
AJ. Now back to AJ Styles, which was the whole reason of talking about WWE to begin with. But I was waiting to see, did Nikki even put the story about Roman in here? Maybe she did and I missed it. That's what I was waiting on. And yes, she did tell me. I'm sorry. Yeah, we were talking about TNA. Okay, she said before the interview played, she went outside to take majestic pictures of Roman in the snow, and she fell in the driveway. And she told my mom and our aunt not to fall, and then it happened to Nikki. My sister has had 2 back surgeries. One of them has been both of them have been because she fell.
Woman, don't make me come to North Carolina for the wrong reasons to unkick your kicked ass.
Right. Nikki,
you better be okay.
Yes.
Walk like a penguin. You guys got to do the penguin walk. I know you're not used to it. Walk like a penguin.
And also don't do it while I'm on the podcast and can't come help you.
Because Nikki, if you French fry when you're supposed to pizza, you're gonna have a bad time. I know you're not used to it. Walk like a penguin. Put your arms down. That's how they stay upright.
Times 2. Stay safe, kids. She said she fell forward, so hopefully it's okay.
Nikki, I do not like this.
Don't do it when I can't come help you.
Seriously, I'm with Sam. Both of the older sisters in the room are demanding that you do not do this anymore.
Yeah, I bet your shin and your back do hurt. Lord, I'm glad
if you're not seriously injured, Sam's going to have to come in there and kick your ass when she's done.
I was like, I'm glad you're okay, but don't do that.
That's not cool.
Like last week our dad fell at his he was walking by his truck and I guess there was ice. It was last week when there was ice and I guess it was black ice and he didn't see it and he fell in his driveway.
The worst.
So please stop falling.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. The penguin thing.
Brett said walk like a penguin.
Yes, it was.
The Bengals walk like an Egyptian.
You know what's funny is I do sort of get that song stuck in my head when I do it. So.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're having to deal with all that ice. I hope that I don't know if Memphis lost power in the way that Nashville did, but I hope that you are safe and you are warm because
seriously.
I know that was rough. I have a friend who's in the Memphis area and she had a ton of snow last weekend and was like struggling. But luckily, I don't think she lost power at all, and that happened. So hopefully, you are safe and warm. Nikki said she thinks she has the pick of Roman right before she fell. I mean, you better have at least got the shot.
Yeah, seriously, you better got the shot for all this sacrifice.
Nikki said, "And walk this way." Right.
There you go. I'm sending you guys pictures of penguins now. Just the penguins walking, so you guys know how to walk on ice.
Good. Okay.
Listen to your northern friend who knows all about the snows.
Right. Oh, good. Okay. Yes, I also work from home, which is great because I don't have to worry about driving, but then also I don't get to have a snow day unless I lose power, which I don't want to do. So
right. Yeah.
He said Roman can crashes. Roman can lick her with Sticky. It's all okay.
The cat came over and he's like, "What are you doing out here? It's freezing."
I don't want to be out here. Why are you out here? But yeah. So okay. Now I think we can finally, hopefully, get.
All
to
right, AJ. We promise we're going to talk.
All right. So again, I did not watch yesterday, but I knew what was going to happen, and also Shinsuke Nakamura spoiled it the week prior because the day after their match, actually, he posted a journal entry he talked about AJ, and he asked him when he was going to retire, and AJ said at Royal Rumble, "I've already decided." Then he talks about, his career and how great he is. And so I think it was pretty obvious because that's Gunther's character, that his gimmick now is he retires people. And so it would make sense. He retired Goldberg, he retired John Cena, he is now retired AJ Styles. So maybe he's the one who retires Chris Jericho. Maybe he retires. Some people are hoping he's the one to retire Brock Lesnar, and that maybe he also retires CM Punk. That could be could be his list of people, but we shall see where that goes. But in the meantime, AJ did retire from the WWE, which I want to make that very clear because AJ himself has made that very clear he cut a promo on Monday, which was funny having to listen to him cut that promo like Shinsuke didn't spoil what was going to happen, and he has to try to save it. But he very clearly said retiring from the WWE, which means he's probably doing other things. And AJ may be closing in on 50, but he can still go. He has a lot left in the tank. I have not gone back to watch his match with Shinsuke, but I did watch his match with CM Punk on Raw. Of course, that ended in a new DQ because it's WWE and that's what we do here. And it was Finn Balor because they're starting a feud with Finn and CM Punk. And so Finn Balor was mad at CM Punk, cost CM Punk the match, and it ended. And but prior to that, AJ still looked really good. I have a couple of theories on AJ. So AJ obviously was on the debut episode of TNA. They teased him looking at the title when, not Mike Santana, because Mike Santana won it back. When Kaz had it, he was like talking to him and was looking down at the title. Then he talked to Mike Santana as well. Mike Santana was like, so he's definitely interested in the title. And somebody was like, well, TNA doesn't have AJ Styles money. AJ Styles he's made his money. I think that if he wants to wrestle somewhere for a couple months, I think he would do it. So I would not be surprised at some point this year he shows up in TNA, wrestles for the title, potentially wins it, holds it for like a month or two, and then eventually gets inducted into their Hall of Fame. My other theory is that he goes back to New Japan and potentially wrestles in the G1. I know that he's older. That's a lot on his body. But it also starts in Chicago this year. So I think G1 is a possibility, but I think that perhaps he goes back to New Japan, and this is how we get the match with Will Ospreay, that it happens at Forbidden Door, or it happens at All In, because Ospreay has been trying to get AJ to come to AEW for the last few months. He does the Styles Clash to try to get AJ to come. He wants a match with AJ, and he's been very vocal about it. So I think that this is how we get to that. And then I think the other thing is he wants to wrestle Kenny Omega because they are the two who took Bullet Club. Obviously, Finn Balor is the one who created it, but AJ took it to another level before he left, and then Kenny took it to even greater heights, the most popular it had ever been. And I think the two of them, that's a match that I think a lot of fans want. And I think the best place to do that, if you don't do it for sure, I think All In is a huge place to do that. And sure, of course, he could sign to AEW and they could have the matches that way. But I could also see him going back to New Japan for a bit, and then that's how those matches happen. But I absolutely think AJ Styles is going to show up somewhere else. And last night, so after he retired, he came back in, and I guess they were still cheering for him and stuff. And he didn't leave his boots in the ring. He took his gloves off and was about to lay them down, and then he put them back on and he left. And so some people were like, oh, that means they thought he was going to be in the Rumble match later that night. But also just a few days ago, AJ trademarked the name AJ Styles, and he trademarked his logo, which tells me he's taking that somewhere and doing something with it. He's going to at least take it to Pro Wrestling Tees and sell some merch off of it. WWE is also selling Thank You AJ merch. I saw a screenshot of it last night. But so I guess, what's his name? Sam Rosenberg says he talked to AJ after the match and that AJ is retired and he wouldn't go back on his word. So he's making it seem like he doesn't think AJ is going anywhere else. And somebody was saying that they thought that he was trying to make it a guilt trip, that like AJ would never go back on his word. So if he shows up somewhere else, then he's an awful person. But I think Rosenberg was just talking. I think that AJ's done with WWE. And then also Triple H apparently said in the post show that AJ could work backstage, which AJ has talked about doing, is working backstage, and he definitely could do that. But I think he's going to go wrestle wherever the hell he feels like it, and then maybe he'll come back. But I don't think AJ Styles is done with wrestling. Sure, could he show up in AEW next week? Absolutely he could, but I wouldn't be surprised if he hits up TNA and New Japan.
So he is fundamentally at this point, as of last night or this weekend, he's done with the WWE. His
contract is up. He's done. That's why he did it yesterday. He did not sign an extension. From what we know, there was no extension signed. He debuted at the Royal Rumble and he retired at the Royal Rumble. He's out. I absolutely think he's going elsewhere. And then him trademarking his logo.
Well, that's a big one.
And then even not long after he retired, Mercedes tweeted and said she hoped the rumors were true, which seems to indicate rumors of him coming to AEW. Yeah, they sure are. That Brad says they're already doing PR in case AJ goes to AEW. If he goes to AEW, then WWE fans will say AJ is a liar and throw crap at him like they love to do. Yeah, I felt like that's where Rosenberg's. I think that's why he made the comment he made, is because they clearly know that AJ is done with them and where he goes next. Sure, he could show up in AEW, absolutely, but I really would not be surprised if he goes to TNA and New Japan and does some stuff. I mean, of course, with TNA, you run the risk because they do have the relationship with WWE. And obviously, Scott D'Amore is not there anymore. It's Carlos Silva now. But they have hinted it. They teased a match last year with him and Leon Slater. They teased that match as well. So, I mean, there's definitely some things that he could do in TNA if he wanted to go that route, they could do that. But I can absolutely see him. I think regardless, I think we'll probably get through it through New Japan, but I definitely think that we're getting AJ versus Will Ospreay, and I think we're getting AJ versus Kenny, especially because Kenny is on the backside of his career now. Of course, he obviously is healthy as he's been in a really long time. He looks incredible, but I definitely think that we'll get that match from them before Kenny retires. Yeah. Crash says, they don't. Oh wait, I think this was. Wait a minute. Was it something about the nostalgia run? Yeah. He said, So Curry says though, either way, AJ will backdoor his way into AEW or go for a run in the last 10 days for nostalgia. Yeah, and you know what? If that's how he wants to retire, then I don't let him do what he wants. don't have a for me, I don't have an issue with it, especially with AJ. When he can still go, it's not like he's falling apart and can barely have matches anymore, and his knees aren't like Tanahashi's where you're afraid they're going to give out every match. Like, he's still pretty, even though he did get injured like a year or so ago, he seems to be healthier. I even wondered that last night because Brad says he was hoping AEW would have started AJT's last night on Collision, but that didn't happen. And, I even said something to Nikki about that. I was like, I wonder if they would even hint at AJ now, or if they would wait. And maybe they didn't want to take away from Ciampa, and that's why it didn't happen last night. But yes, I guess we're now on AJ Styles' watch, because I feel like he's done. As far as I know, I believe the contract is up. If it's not up yet, it should be any day now, and he could definitely show up soon. And again, I mean,
Revolution would be the worst place to have AJ.
Revolution's in March, so they could do that.
He could do some New Japan stuff in the meantime if he wanted.
Yeah, like if he does go back to New Japan, they've got their next show is I think February the 11th, so that's only 10 days from now. If he wanted to go that way. And Curry had supposed AJ versus Kenny can close out their chapter of the Bullet Club. Right, exactly, especially because Bullet Club has moved on to such a different thing now. It's not what it was. And obviously factions move on and do different things. So, I mean, they could, like you said, just close that out and, Bullet Club can be what it is. Michael said, will AJ really pass up the chance to wrestle Samoa Joe before he retires, or Kenny or Osprey or Okada, just not to hurt WWE feelings? Sadly, I say yes. I say no, but maybe that's just because I've seen enough. I mean, I get it, and I can see where, because wrestlers have sacrificed things, like they have, like I still think after Jericho's tour is done in February, I think, even though I did see he's coming to Charlotte in May, the UK tour is in February, and I do think Chris Jericho wants to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I think that's why he's going back. But I feel like AJ I think he'll figure out a way to wrestle them. I think that maybe he does have that loyalty to WWE, so sure, that's possible. But I think because we've seen so many wrestlers that they want to retire on their own terms, they don't want to, which he did retire on his own terms. He picked the match, he picked the location. He said it was going to be at Royal Rumble, so he did get to go out on his own, I guess, in that sense. And so maybe he does honor that. That's it for him. But I just feel like he's not done. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Michael is right. Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine AJ Kenny and Switchblade? Can we get a healthy Switchblade though? Can we also get a healthy Juice Robinson? Because my goodness.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Crash said, yeah, I like to see AJ use his stature to help elevate other promotions and revisit some of his own stomping grounds. Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's just me being a fan. Maybe that's me thinking, like, wanting to see those things happen, and maybe AJ is done. Maybe that was it. Maybe because he claimed he wanted to retire before 50. Was that his WWE excuse? Possibly, but maybe it is his excuse overall. Maybe he does want to be done.
Maybe he does.
Which is certainly, maybe so. But I will continue to be on AJ Styles' watch. Maybe it's for nothing, but he's had an incredible. If that was it yesterday, he's had an incredible career. He has, he was a huge wrestler for TNA. He was one of the best they had for a very long time. He led that company. He was huge for them. And he went to New Japan and got to really, because, it was kind of is AJ Styles the big fish in the small pond? Like, how would he do outside of TNA? And he answered that, and he was one of the best. He wrestled in New Japan and took Bullet Club to an even bigger place. And then he came to WWE, and he did, he had incredible matches and things like that too. So I think that he wrestled for he's wrestled for, his career's gone over 20 years. And there are a lot of wrestlers last night in WWE who were, and outside of WWE even, who were tweeting thank you to him last night and talking about how much, they learned from him and how much they wanted to be like him and things like that. So I think, if he's gone, if that's it, he had an incredible career and he could retire and probably be happy with it. But Can he retire knowing that he could have these matches? Because Samoa Joe's on the end of his career too. Samoa Joe is basically, he's going to finish his contract out and he's done. And you can even say that for Eddie Kingston. I mean, Eddie Kingston, he still has quite a few years left, but like Eddie is like, that's kind of his mindset too, is like, this is my last contract ever, and once it's done, I'm done. So then you have a lot of these people who are his peers who are at the end of their careers as well. And does he want to wrestle them one more time? Is that, yeah. Hey, I get it, Michael. He says he's cynical because it seems too good to be true and we can't have nice things. I mean, that's very fair, and I totally get it, especially in the wrestling business.
Yeah, cynicism. It's very hard to not have that feeling. Totally.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, like, and I get it where Michael's coming from, but then on the other hand, I think Curryhead and Crash and even Brad are on the same, they're thinking the same thing, that like there's all these matches he could have, like he doesn't have to retire. He's free to have these matches. And so Curryhead said there are 6 people in that company's roster that AJ Styles can wrestle to close out so much: Ospreay, Samoa Joe, Omega, Okada, Switchblade. Right. So we could have the nice things. I hope we get the nice things.
I hope so.
I really hope we do.
I will wish cast the nice things with the hope that they can somehow manifest, I guess.
Yeah. Crush said, "Dear AJ, let us have nice things. Let yourself have nice things too." Yeah. Maria says, "I don't think AJ Styles is signing a contract with another promotion for less than a year." I mean, you could be right. Maybe he wants the guaranteed thing. Maria says there are no more Stranger Things final episodes and there's no more AJ Styles matches. Oh no, I don't believe that. Yeah. Again, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that. I don't
know about Stranger Things. There might be a spinoff though.
They are working on something already.
I think they were saying like Nancy or something, but
no, they've got something. One of the actors figured it out 2 or 3 years ago, and he's the only one that knows what it is because he figured it out. And they thought somebody told him, and he was like, "No, I figured it out on my own." But yes, they've already got something. They had planned that a few years ago. It's not Stranger Things that'll be. It's not
like a spinoff.
It's not a true spinoff because it doesn't include it has nothing to do with these characters. It's all brand new characters from what they have said.
Got it. So just in a totally other dimension.
Yes, and there are Stranger Things cartoons that will take place between season 2 and season 3.
I've heard that they're very good, and somebody in our group knows someone that was on the production team, and they were really proud of it. So
nice.
I'm hyped for those to come out.
Yeah. So we will. I believe that is all of the WWE topics for now. So we will bring it back to AEW because obviously on Wednesday we got the surprise. It was funny because I told Nikki early. So we started Dynamite late because we were doing some other things, and we told our friends. I think we went ahead and told them. And so my phone was charging in here, and so Nikki had the phone, and somebody texted our group chat and was like, "Are you guys watching?" And we were like, "No, we're getting called up." And so I thought maybe it had something to do with the tag match with FTR and Doyle and Davis. So I was like, well, I don't want to get spoiled if Doyle and Davis actually won. So I was like, I left my phone in my room while we were getting caught up. But I had told Nikki before, I told her before, I think early on in the show, I was like, I wonder if Tommaso's coming tonight. Like, he's free. He's already got new shirts up on Pro Wrestling Tees. Like, maybe he's coming tonight. And he did. So we get him. He comes out there with, so Mark Briscoe, because I could not figure out, I was like, why are we doing a TNT title match on TBS? They don't ever do that. They do them on separate. They do them on their own channels. Why is this match happening here? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? And then we got our answer. It's because he issued an open challenge, and I was like, please don't be Kyle Fletcher, because I cannot take another Kyle Fletcher match and Mark Briscoe match. Give me a year break, please. I can't take another one. And he thankfully was like, he told Don Callis, it can't be any of your guys. They cannot answer this open challenge. The lights go black, and Nikki and I were like, oh my God. It's Tommaso. It has to be. And then I saw the heartbeat and I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. This is interesting. And then And then it was Tommaso, and he's got this really badass entrance. He's got this really cool jacket. And then they talk about how he and Mark Briscoe have this history together. And I was like, oh, Ciampa is absolutely taking that title. Like, you can't debut him like this and not have him win. Like, you can't do that. And so then we got the match, and they even put up a countdown clock to let you know this match is happening in 25 minutes. They rarely do that. And I was like, okay, that also tells me they want people tuned in at 9 o'clock, because when this match starts at the top of the hour, Tommaso was probably winning this time. That just gave me another thing. And then Nikki was like, well, do you think that, she was like, well, maybe it goes to a draw because of like how they're doing. And I was like, I mean, they could, but I feel like that's kind of like, I don't know that you bring Tommaso in like that to have it end in a draw or whatever. And then they had a really fantastic match. Tommaso does win the title. He and Mark, they shook hands and everything before the match, and even during the match, like in the closing minutes of the match, they kind of shook hands again or slapped hands or did something, and like they could tell like, we're going to turn this up a notch or whatever. And then Tommaso wins. He's obviously emotional. Then we get the backstage interview with him and Lexi, and he's back there with his wife and daughter. And I'm glad it seems like they are still calling his finisher Willow's Bell, which is named after his daughter, because Nigel called it that on commentary. And then then a couple minutes later, he was saying it was something DDT, which it is, but I was like, I hope they're still calling it Willow's Bell. But, and then his wife and daughter were in the crowd on Wednesday. He went over to them, and he said last night it was a family decision for him to come to AEW. And his signing happened very fast. He had a conversation. He signed his contract Monday.
Wow.
Debuted on Wednesday and won the title last night. And so,
nice.
And he said that I saw that he did an interview with, he's done a few interviews. I haven't watched the video interview that he did, but I saw a portion of the interview he did with the Takedown on SI, and he just said there wasn't one thing that made him want to leave WWE. He just knew that he wanted to see what else was out there. He wanted to go somewhere else. He met with Tony. He was really impressed by how passionate he was about his company and his locker room and the people who were in it. And he said that really kind of sounds like that is what sold him on the idea to come do that. Because a few days before he signed, before he even released the new merch on Pro Wrestling Tees, he released a graphic to take bookings. So like and maybe he is still going to do independent bookings, but like it seemed like as of last week, his plan was to do independent bookings, go wherever. And then AEW, he and Tony talked, and he signed on Monday and debuted Wednesday. And so Nikki and I talked about it last night. I was like, I'm sure Mark Briscoe did not have a problem dropping the title to Ciampa because of their history, but I was like, I wonder what the plan was, because as of Monday, before Monday, he was not in the picture at all. Who was Mark Briscoe supposed to drop that title to? How long was he supposed to hold it? Was he supposed to drop it back to Kyle Fletcher? Were they going to have somebody else waiting in the wings, and now this person's been screwed out of a title shot? Like how, what was the plan with that? But I think that having Tommaso Ciampa win was the right call.
Me too. 100%. I'm so glad that they did this. I think it's the best way to go. I love that he's doing his thing that he did back in NXT, where the belt is his baby. I think that people who aren't familiar with Tommaso Ciampa, who've never seen him wrestle before, he's so great. He's a big dude. He can move. He's got great charisma. We met him at KOC. We got that great picture of him and Bob because he complimented Bob's beard before he shaved.
Right.
So that was like, because we got to see him the one night and he walked by and was like, nice beard to Bob. And we were both like, thanks. And we turned, I was like, oh crap. And it was like, can we grab a picture? And he was super cool. And he's a great guy. That promo was awesome. I was very excited because it brought me, was like, oh, remember when NXT was good and Ciampa was part of that? Yeah. It made me want Johnny Gargano in there so bad. And I was just like, I need that feud. But then you started like fantasy booking his matches. And even when Fletcher came out to challenge him, I was like, hell yeah, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. And I checked because I wanted to know, and he's 40. Tommaso Ciampa is 40. So
Yeah.
He's not like, he's great. He's got at least like a good decade in him, and he's so awesome. So I was very excited to see him. I hope that people who have never seen Ciampa before, get ready. He's a lot of fun.
And Psycho Killer, or the Sicilian Psycho Killer. Yeah. I saw him briefly on the Indies right before he went to NXT. And it was funny because I was going to tweet it beforehand, like when I knew his contract was coming up. I was going to say that I needed him to run it back with Anthony Henry. And then when he was All Elite, I just quote tweeted the graphic because that's how I saw Tommaso. Tommaso came to PWX and he had they had a trilogy with Anthony Henry, and it was incredible. And two of those matches, the first one and the third one, are on YouTube. The middle one is not, because that is the lost show. Something happened with the tapes, it didn't record right. So the only people who have saw that match were in the building. So Nikki and I were in the building for that match. We saw it. But that trilogy was so good. And Tommaso was incredible. Anthony Henry was really good. They have similar styles. They both kick really hard. So I tweeted, I was like, I need Ciampa Henry 4.
You tweeted that, I was like, oh my God, yes.
And then Anthony retweeted it, and I was like, I hope something comes of it. I was like, because I told Nikki before he even went to AEW, I was like, if DPW was still around, this is a DPW match. Like DPW would absolutely book Anthony Henry versus Tommaso Ciampa 4. And so I'm hoping, even if for some reason AEW can do it, AEW employs both men. And Henry actually even said, I was watching a story last night, and he was like, I was supposed to be at Collision tapings, but there's snow in Augusta. And he was like showing the snow on the ground. He's like, I couldn't fly out. So it is in the realm of possibility, but I will even take it at an indie show somewhere. I hope they run it back because it was really, really good. And so, I do not think we will. I don't think we will see Johnny or Candace.
I know.
In WWE. Johnny had his chance when he took his 9 months off, and then again, Candace went to the Hall of Fame last year with Triple H's face on her shoes. Which sounds very bootlickerish, but I was like, I
literally,
I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. And so I was like, I was like, those two, and maybe she's fine with wrestling. Candace she was in the Royal Rumble yesterday, apparently lasted like 4 minutes or something. Prior to that, she had not had a wrestling match since last June, from the article that I wrote. And she rarely wrestles. She's mostly concerned about her husband's business. Maybe that's what she wants to do. Maybe she does not have interest in actually wrestling matches. I don't know. I think part of it is also she's older, and WWE just doesn't want to put her in matches. Yeah, WWE was like, oh, she's close to 40, and we don't want to put her in matches, which is stupid. Because she can still go. And Asuka believes in her 40s, and she's also a mom. But I think it seems like they're happy there. I don't think they're coming to AEW. I would be quite shocked to see this. Would I love a DIY reunion? An actual DIY?
Though. It's just like
I would love it, but they seem to be, they drink the WWE Kool-Aid, they don't. They have. That's where they're going to retire, and if that's what makes them happy,
good for them.
Then good for them. And it's unfortunate because Candace used to be one of the best independent wrestlers out there, and now
impermanence is the only thing constant, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, if they're happy there, then good for them. I'm glad that Ciampa took a.
I'm so excited for Ciampa on AEW television. I am excited. That is cool. He's going to be able to kind of. I think that's going to maybe have a Moxley effect where he actually gets to like spread his wings. Because he doesn't.
Yeah,
he's not fond of the WWE process.
Yes, and Ciampa even said when he posted a note, because I thought on Twitter he posted a note of when he announced that he was leaving WWE, and he said, I spent the first 10 years of my career on the indies. I spent the next 10 years of my career in WWE, and I want to spend the next 10 years of my career seeing what else I can do. Like he's like, I've done the indie thing, I did the WWE thing. Now what can I do? What do I get? And it sounded like it was pretty open-ended. And again, this came together really fast. And speaking of really fast, the the theme came out really fast. Mikey Ruckus did do that piece, and he said he finished it in 36 hours. Yes, and he posted a video of him recording it. There's another dude who's singing on the track, but Mikey put it together super quick. And I saw people talking to him on Blue Sky last night about how he's got another banger, and somebody made a graphic that says something like "My Shadow Knows My Story," and it had a bunch of Y's, and it was that graphic of the cat with his head back, and he has the cowboy hat on. So, but yeah, he got that song out really quick. And Brad says he wasn't totally sure about Ciampa coming in. I wasn't sure about another 40-year-old guy with an injury history. That's also a Fed-pilled signing, but Ciampa proved me very wrong last night. Hell of a match. And another thing with Ciampa that I have the graphic, and I meant to send it so I could post it. I screenshot it, and I sent it to the group chat when I saw it, and I also sent it to one of the Slacks I'm in. But early January, I was scrolling through YouTube on my phone, and it was ROH came up, and it said ROH premiere, and it was premiering in January the 10th or something. And the graphic was, and it was best of Saturday. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was Lee Moriarty, Daniel Garcia, Tommaso Ciampa from 2013, and Wheeler Yuta. And I was like, why is Tommaso Ciampa, who we did not know at the time his contract was coming up, why is Tommaso Ciampa in this graphic for this upcoming ROH show? I was like, that weird that they put that there. And then it's also weird that maybe they talked prior to that, and the contract has happened on Monday. I haven't read the article, so I don't know the exact details. I just know that he signed the contract on Monday. So, but I was just like, oh, that's really weird that they have 2013 Tommaso Ciampa in here with 3 current ROH AEW guys. That's very weird. So I was like, okay. So, yeah, maybe they were putting it in the universe that they wanted him to come back. Curry had said this was the first time in a long time they did something right for a good debut, made him look like $1 million and won the title. Yes. Yeah. Ciampa is an excellent still. He's going to be a great asset. I think so too. Michael said I nearly threw up. I thought it was Killer Cross. Thank God it was Ciampa. Boy, if it had been Killer Cross,
that would have not been so cool.
No.
I would have not have had the same reaction.
No, definitely not. I was super hyped for Tommaso, especially because when I saw Psycho Killer, I was like, God, this is the Tommaso that I love. I only got a little bit of it, and then but even still, Black and Gold Tommaso, DIY was one of my favorite tag teams. I love DIY.
They were great.
And he had that really incredible singles feud with Johnny, and
they had the Chicago Street Fight.
Maybe they should not have had 5 takeover matches. They probably should have ended it after the 3rd takeover match, but we got 5 of them.
They had that Chicago Street Fight that was one of my absolute favorite matches of all time.
Because that is the one where Ciampa takes Johnny Gargano's wedding ring and throws it into the crowd, and I was like, holy shit. And then Ciampa was coming out. Because he was such a heel, he came out to no music, and his theme song was the crowd booing him. How incredible is that? That's one of the coolest things the heel has ever done.
Yep.
I love 2017, 2018.
Yeah, that was magical time.
Special. I mean, just Black and Gold NXT was special. It was.
Yes, it was.
God, I love that time so much. And so then they, Johnny went on hiatus. He comes back, they call him up to the main roster, and it just wasn't the same because the people on the main roster didn't care, or they didn't watch Black and Gold, so it didn't mean anything to them. They just thought they're 2 old dudes. And then they did finally start kind of winning the crowd over some, and then they won the titles for a bit. And then I got DIY versus Motor City, which I'm very glad I got that at least. But then it just started becoming some of the repetitive stuff that they were doing, and I can absolutely see why he wanted to leave. And I hope that that AEW that they continue to book him really, really well, because now you have to follow that up. And you teased us with the Kyle Fletcher match, which I think will be really good.
Yeah, I'm into that. Let's go.
Yeah, so now I'm ready to see like how else they handle this. And yes. This says Steven says that congratulations to Ciampa, by far booked. If booked right, this is going to be his best run ever. So looking forward to Ciampa versus Fletcher. Yes, ROH did throw up his old matches immediately after his debut. I saw some stuff on. I think one of his matches with Mark got put up on you. Well, I was gonna say up on YouTube, but it would have been ROH's YouTube. So yeah, they've got those matches up there. See, that makes me want AJ even more. Is because I saw what he did with Tommaso, and I know he could do that for AJ. We saw what he did for Sting. AJ saw what he did for Sting. Ciampa. These guys saw it, whether they want to admit it or not. They saw it too. They know what happened last night. Yes, very glad about Adam Priest getting DPW chance last night. Yes, also to this. Brad says, can we talk about those awesome backstage promos with Josh Alexander recently where he talks to the camera as DCF members beat up people behind him? I love how different they are. I really like that. Nikki and I were talking about that last night, and I think she said something about it too, about how we were talking about those promos. And one of the things I like about it is that it gives Josh some personality, because I think that's where he kind of lacks in connecting with the AEW fans, because clearly he's a good wrestler, and sometimes that's all you need in AEW is just to be a good wrestler. But I feel like at times his personality or the way his character has been booked so far kind of not hurts him, but I think maybe we've not been able to get quite the same connection with him. And that was kind of my issue with him in TNA. Like, I saw the matches were good, but I couldn't quite connect with him. And these, I think, have really made it like I really enjoy them. I think you can see his personality more. They're a lot of fun. Seeing Lance Archer throw people around in the back, like Lance Archer nearly ran into the camera last night because he was throwing somebody and his momentum took him forward. And I was like, oh my God, Tony Khan's going to kill him if he breaks the camera with his face because he's throwing people around. I really, really like that. And so that's kind of my thing with if they bring in Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin has solid matches, but for me, I don't have a connection with him. Like, I just can't. Like, his matches have been fine. I've enjoyed them, but I feel like he just doesn't really get to show any type of personality or character. So then I'm like, we don't need to have Josh Alexander 2.0 coming in. But I was like, maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he just needs to be in a different setting. Maybe he just needs different people around him. Nikki was like, maybe he can go to ROH because Deanna is on ROH. Maybe he could go do some stuff so you don't have both him and Josh Alexander on the main roster doing stuff. But I mean, maybe a different environment will make him more interesting to me. And I was like, that sounds so mean, and I don't mean it.
No, I know what you're saying. That'll make it, maybe the different setting will change the way that you perceive him.
Right. But they've done a really great job with the Josh Alexander stuff. I really enjoy that. It's one of my favorite things that they do. It makes me laugh, and it makes me pay attention to because you have to focus on what he's saying because there's so much action behind him, so you have to pay attention. But I think Josh was the perfect person for them to do that with. And I saw somebody mention it earlier, and obviously we did talk about briefly Davis and Doyle, and Doyle got hurt in that match. And which is really obviously an injury anytime is unfortunate, but to have an injury 3 weeks into your new company, they're pushing you and your tag team partner. I almost went before the injury. Like, I think FTR was going to win regardless. I don't think they call it an audible because Jake got hurt. I mean, sure, it's possible, but I think FTR was going to win. But at first, before I realized, because I didn't know that Doyle was hurt until after the show ended, and then I saw the clip of him seemingly saying, "I tore my bicep," when he's telling them, and I was like, Jesus Christ. But before that, because I was like, oh, is this what we're doing now? We'll barely beat a team, and then we'll have a run it back. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe they're getting the rematch in Australia because that's where Mark Davis is from. Maybe they'll do a title change there. And then, so I don't know if that's what the plan was or if they were moving on to the next tag team. But now, obviously, that whatever it was is off the table because he was injured. We don't have a timeline or anything, but if he did tear a bicep, he'll probably be out
I can't decide if because they do communicate during the match. There is a chance that he may have said something and they could have done it.
Right.
I just don't know. I know some of the people in our Discord noticed that he was holding his arm, but I don't think it was until after the match. So it's hard to say. Maybe FTR really was going to win it, and because you obviously can't put it on someone who's going to be out for a
right, exactly, right. And so I'm sure, and I was like, absolutely, they could have called an audible on the spot.
They could have, but it's
I
just
feel
hard
like
to
FTR was probably going to retain. And then also another reason I think they were going to retain is because the Young Bucks have cut a promo saying that they are coming for the tag titles, and I am wondering, instead of doing Cope Christian, if they're doing FTR Young Bucks and FTR and Young Bucks take the title off of them, which they could be doing, or maybe they're just reinvigorating the tag team. But even last night with the Rascals and Crew wrestling, Nigel was like, FTR's got to be looking at all these young teams coming in, and I was like, you've got Jet Speed, who are super popular, and we talked about like they probably made the wrong decision about not putting the titles on them when they could have. Then people obviously, Juice and before Juice got hurt, Juice and Austin were getting over, so they could have done something there. And I feel like, and that kind of goes back to what we've talked about. Yes, you've got Ciampa and another, 40-year-old man with holding a title, and that, has been kind of an issue. When you look at certain titles and you see the tag team titles and you have the veterans holding it for the third time, when you have all these young up and coming teams. But I think maybe the Bucks, even if they don't necessarily win the titles soon-ish, you could have the Young Bucks in there with these young teams doing what they do, which is helping put over other young teams and teaching them and things like that, and building them up along the way, so that when they do win the titles, then they have these young teams to come chase them, and then they can put over a younger tag team. But I still don't know where Cope Christian fits into this picture. Is that something they're still going to revisit? Because neither one of them are back yet. And Cope is supposed, he's done, as far as I know, I believe he's done with his, all his press commitments for his new show. I believe he's able to come back. And as far as I know, Christian's able to come back. So maybe they're waiting. I mean, Dynasty is in Canada. You would think that they would come back sooner to build up something for that, but perhaps they come back at Revolution and then build something for Dynasty. Maybe that's what they're doing. Hopefully she's still here, because we're back behind. I'm behind because I was reading some other comments. Hello, Collins. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you for stopping by, and congratulations. I believe Collins has a new podcast that they just started. Or will be starting soon. So
the Collins Rocks podcast.
Yes, but I believe that if you're still here, tell me the name of your current one, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. They've got another one. Collins is booked and busy with Twitch streams and podcasts, and because they've also got the Peak Millennials podcast that they do, nice. Which is really great. Maria says she's a huge fan of Steve Macklin, his throwback heel. Yeah, I can see that. Definitely. Let's see here. Let me come down here real quick and see.
So while we're doing this, I have to, because I got to show you, but I didn't get to show anyone else because we weren't on the air last week after it came to me.
Right.
But Mr. Jim Valley took a trip to Japan this year and was kind enough to purchase yours truly a present from the event at Wrestle Kingdom here. So I'm going to show you guys this.
Yes. It's so cool.
Okay. But it gets cooler.
Wait.
You guys ready?
I got to.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. That's so cool.
New Japan, we're King of Sport. And the best part here, guys, you can change the colors to like whichever faction you want. So
I love it. That's such a cool gift.
Very cool. Big shout out to Jim Valley for even thinking about me on his first trip back to Japan. I'm so hyped about this thing. Cool. It makes me happy.
Mel messaged me and she was like, oh my God, I have to show you what I got. And I was like, well, hopefully I'll have power. And then of course I
had to do it really quick with Sam, and it wasn't on the air, but I had to show you guys, and I didn't want to forget it was sitting next to me, and I did want to give Jim a shout out for that because he's super cool and he bought me a super cool guy. Like, I love my wrestling memorabilia. Like,
Brad,
So good.
Brad said, if something bad happens, you can put up the lion's mark in black like they do when they scare the crap out of us on Twitter, and they post that. Then they quit doing that, and they were putting up like just regular news, and we're like, no, put that back, because one is bad news and I need to know.
Yeah, that way we know it. We need to know.
Maria is jealous.
Cool.
I also am jealous. I think it's very cool. I love it.
It's so super sweet for that. Like, I'm so super grateful that people think about that.
Yeah.
And the hats or the towels and the things over the time that people have thought about. It's really, really fun. And I enjoy it. Like, if I get like really sad, I just come over here and play with it because, and it's not like totally replaceable. And I'm like such a nerd because I'm like, first thing I said to my friend was, look, something from Japan that Jeff Bezos didn't deliver. So I'm keeping
another win.
I know, right? It was totally brought here organically, with totally fair. And I'm like keeping the packaging because it's got like all the directions are in Japanese, and I'm like, oh, I gotta keep that too.
Nice. So, that's very cool. I would have kept
it was very exciting.
So. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Collins. Collins' podcast is called Coast to Coast, which I love because Coast to Coast is one of my. Nikki and I love. When Shane McMahon used to do Coast to Coast, we would yell Coast to Coast all the time. And now that Kevin Knight is doing them, we do it with him too. I love it. Yeah, I saw that too. I saw something. And how I saw this rumor that Adam Copeland might want to retire this year is because I saw it in Collins' Instagram story.
Oh, there you go.
That's how I saw it too, that there was a rumor that he might retire this year.
See, that's why you need your Collins on the street.
Collins is a very big Adam Copeland fan, and if that is the case, then Collins needs to finish the story and be at that, because Collins was there when, if I remember correctly, when Cope debuted at AEW, Collins was in the crowd, and Collins was in the crowd of another big thing that he did. So if he retires, then Collins, we will help Collins manifest this, that if Cope is retiring this year, that Collins gets to be there to see it in person. Because wrestling makes Collins cry anyway, but this will really make them cry. So we need to get that. We'll put that out in the universe.
Watch our heroes retire gracefully.
Yes, we'll put that in. Collins will put that in the universe, that we want to help you manifest that.
Totally.
I did want to bring up. I forgot that I had this in our notes. So obviously, AEW is going to Australia in 2 weeks, and they're having the Grand Slam show on Saturday, and then on Sunday they're having the House Rules show, which is I don't know if this is going to be filmed for like ROH or anything, but it's basically in essence a house show. And then I believe on Friday there is an independent show. So MJF and Robbie Eagles have been going back and forth on the Twitter machine. And Robbie wants him to put his title up, and MJF obviously doesn't think Robbie's worthy of it. But then he said, if you get enough people talking about it, tagging Tony Khan and AEW, I'll consider it. So Robbie has launched an online campaign. It's hashtag Eagles versus MJF. And he's been he's trying to get the word out that he wants a match with MJF. He wants a title shot. They'll be in Australia. He wants the match very badly. He wants to show MJF that he's better than him. There's been a fan campaign around it helping him get the word out. And so hopefully it will come to fruition. I don't know if this is a match that, if it does happen, if it happens on the house show, or if it happens maybe at the independent show on Friday, because there are so many people gunning for MJF and his title that I don't know. I would love for them to put it on Grand Slam Australia, because I love Robbie Eagles. Robbie is great. I think more people need to see him. So I would love for them to put it on Grand Slam. I don't know that they will. I don't know if this will be an independent thing or what, but regardless, I hope Robbie Eagles gets the match. So if you also want this match, go on social media and use the hashtag Eagles versus MJF. And I've posted something the other day, and which reminds me I need to post about it again. So hopefully we can make this happen. Yes, so we can hear Robbie, Robbie, Robbie.
Oi,
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 oi, oi.
oi.
Yes. And we're getting I believe no other matches have been announced for Grand Slam other than the one that was announced last night, which is Timeless Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy had a match last night against Gino Medina, who was Chris Statlander's boyfriend, and Lady Bird Monroe. And then, of course, the match ended because Wheeler Yuta got mad at Orange Cassidy, cost him the match. Him and Orange have been going back and forth. Orange doesn't know who he is in the last, because they used to be, best friends. He was in Best Friends. They helped each other out. And then obviously Yuta did the things that he has done. So, but now Orange Cassidy has a problem with his long hair, which I'm going to fight them because I hate this. So last night, Wheeler Yuta went and got a pair of scissors, and Marina had Orange held in place, and they were getting ready to cut his hair. And Tony came in the ring and knocked Marina down, and Tony grabbed the scissors and Yuta ran, which I would have, because I wouldn't even be worried about my hair. I would be worried that Tony is going to stab me.
She was crazy. I was like, you get out of there. She's crazy. She'll use them however she needs to. Get out of there.
Right. She could. So he's like, Yuta's incensed on the outside. Tony grabs the microphone and says that she wants a hair versus hair match, and regardless, at the end of this match, somebody is going to be bald, or one of you bitches are going to be bald, or get their head shaved or something like that, and the crowd starts chanting bald at them. Yeah. And Yuta gets so angry, he's trying to leave or kick the barricade, and he wiped himself out because bless his heart, he does not want to lose his hair.
He's such an angry little brat.
I don't want Wheeler Yuta to lose his hair.
I know, but you better prepare yourself, because I'm pretty sure.
That's where I thought. But Nikki and I think Yuta might be a red herring.
Yeah.
And that it's actually going to be Tony. Because she is the least likely of those four to have her haircut. I mean, maybe Marina. I said maybe Marina maybe they'll give her a bob. But
Marina would look cute with short hair, though.
I'm wondering. I wonder if it'll be Tony. I feel like Yuta is maybe he's a red herring, and maybe it's too obvious that it's him.
I mean, it would make her crazier, but
right. And I feel like Tony.
That's fair.
I would not be surprised if Tony offered her hair to have this match.
Say Orange's hair.
Or if I told Nikki that I wish it would just be beard versus beard, and then Yuta could lose his beard, because I prefer long hair to beard.
His beard, he's gonna look like he's
5
years old.
That's when he was on the Indies. He didn't have either. He had short hair and he had no
look like he's
hair.
5 years old again. He's just look at the little baby Wheeler.
But his beard hides his handsome face. Yeah. So I was like, I would rather it be that he lost his beard over his hair, or even Orange Cassidy lost his beard over his hair, but I don't believe that's where we're going. I think it is going to be it's not a beard versus beard. I think it's hair versus hair. I am preparing myself for Yuta. However,
short-haired, bald
because
Yuta
of Tony
and bald
being
Marina.
because of Tony being Tony, I could absolutely see Yuta being a red herring, and that it's not actually Yuta. And then also, they have not stipulated, as far as I have seen, are Death Riders going to be banned from ringside? And is Mina also and Luther going to be banned from ringside? Because I was like, if Death Riders are not banned, I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to keep Yuta and Marina from not being shaved or having their hair cut, or however they're going to do it. And so I'm curious if they're going to end up making that a stipulation, because the match has been made official. The graphic did go out last night. So very curious about that. And then Brad reminded me that I had forgotten that the winner of Kenny versus Andrade faces MJF. I'm sorry, wait, was it? Yeah, Andrade and Kenny faces Hangman at Grand Slam. That's right. And then if Brody wins on Wednesday, he gets the title shot on Grand Slam. That's right. So we don't have any actual official matches just yet. We will after Wednesday when we know who Hangman is wrestling, which I think it's going to be Andrade, because you can't have Kenny losing this. You can't have Kenny losing this soon and trying to get a title shot. So my prediction is Andrade wins on Wednesday, and then we do Andrade Hangman is my guess. And they seem to be pushing the hell out of Andrade. So. Let's see here. I was going to go back to the comments. We do have Bald Yuta. Yeah, I believe that is correct. That only whoever gets pinned gets shaved, right? I believe that is the case, which is another reason.
We'll have to clarify this week sometime.
People think that's another reason people think that it's Yuta, is because he's in this match to take the pin to get shaved, which obviously, I mean, that's the very obvious thing. And sometimes matches are that obvious. Sometimes there are no twists and turns and swerves. Sometimes it's just as obvious as Yuta is eating the pin and getting his head shaved. However, knowing Toni Storm,
she's just crazy enough that it might work.
As Nikki said, Toni is wild enough to want to do it.
Yep.
And Curry says no, because you would let her lose her hair in Australia, which might be why she wants to do it. Because clearly we're not getting the tag title match that I thought we were getting.
Yeah, right.
Getting Timeless Love Bombs here. So perhaps Harley Cameron is going to retain her title. I hope that they find something for Mark Davis to do on this card. Because last year Mark Davis got to wrestle on the global card that ended up on ROH. And I was relieved to see that Mark Davis was wrestling Hangman on Dynamite.
Yeah, I was first of all, at least doing a singles match.
First of all, that match is booked for me and Nikki.
Yeah, that's a good match.
People
don't know that Mark can wrestle singles.
So I'm super excited for that. But then that tells me, okay, hopefully we're not just leaving Mark doing just whatever, because when prior to his injury, they were putting him in singles matches, and they were putting him in matches with Orange Cassidy, and it was before Jet Speed was a thing, and they were doing individual matches, and Mark was really getting this momentum before he broke his foot. And then he came back and they didn't do anything with him. And then finally Doyle comes along and we have a tag team for him. So I'm hoping this means we're going to keep finding things for him to do. But I really hope Dunk is not going to get left by the wayside again. And I felt really, and of course I feel bad for Doyle because it's awful, but then I felt bad for Dunk because Dunk
bad timing.
Dunk can't catch a break either. He broke his hand against FTR at Wrestle Dream. He missed a year. He comes back and Kyle has his rocket strapped to him. So Aussie Open's not a thing anymore. And he's got to find his footing as a singles wrestler. Nobody will take him seriously as a singles wrestler, even though he can go. We saw him in the New Japan Cup. And then he finds his footing. And then, pun not intended, he injures his foot. And then it's just so I hate it for both of them. So I really hope they find something for Dunk to do on the main show. It's not a pre-match bullshit thing. They find something for him to do. Nikki says that Garcia could sacrifice himself and just shave his head because it's short enough.
There you go.
Michael says that will wear a bunch of gimmick wigs if she shaves her head from past eras, like a powdered wig, a blonde afro. I can see the vision. See, thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally, when you think about it, it's actually very reasonable to believe that Toni would do the crazy thing, which would be funny as heck because she could totally do that. She would be wearing ridiculous pompadours and stuff. I mean,
right.
We all know it.
She could definitely do it. Yes,
she would. I mean, if she's going to go bald, she's going to lean all the way into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think she absolutely. And can you imagine the character work that she can do with that? And then how Mina, because Mina will be devastated, and is Mina still going to love her with no hair?
With no hair,
or with wigs, with powdered wigs. It does
the wigs that she could. I mean, there's endless possibilities with her with wig situations. Yes. It could be. I mean, it's like me wearing different hats every week, but better. Because Tony's
still in
one of my favorite things I saw on the timeline was thumbs up, tits out, chin up, watch for the shoe. Toni and Orange Cassidy together is my favorite thing right now. I love it.
I love it. I think it's great.
They're both so great.
They play really well off of each
and
other.
they're both so kooky that it is just perfect.
Like, and I enjoyed like the stuff last night with Orange where he was kicking Lady Bird's shins and she was selling, though, which I appreciate. Lady Bird did her job, but then and then Orange just moves out of the way to let Tony drop kick her, and then he does a tope on the outside. Like they work really well together. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
I hope that they. And I'm glad we're getting more mixed matches, but we're also letting them have some of the intergender spots, which I appreciate. Tony coming around on at least that much for somebody who has vocally been against intergender wrestling. I am happy to see this, and I've got to get caught up on ROH. I haven't watched since mid-December, but he had, prior to when I was still watching regularly, he was doing intergender trios matches down there. And he was doing that a lot, which I really appreciate. And I know the infantry have added a woman. I believe Brad may know this. I believe the woman they've added is Carly Bravo's real life girlfriend. That's a wrestler, and she is tall. She's taller than him. And so they're doing that gimmick there, which they have also Premier Athletes have what is her name? Sori Denali, and she's way taller than all of them. And sometimes GYV has wrestled down there with Isla Dawn, and they're a lot of fun. So I really enjoy the intergender trio stuff that they've been doing. When I get back to this comment from Brad said that the OCD in me hates the new Andrade gimmick mainly because of how he's typing on these women's smartphones while wearing his ring gloves. He types like his 79-year-old dad. I don't know where we're going with this gimmick. I don't necessarily hate it, but I'm not really a fan. I was like, what is this? Like, clearly they're planting women because both women that they have used are wrestlers. I don't know what we're doing here. And with Andrade's history of having a hidden family or a secret child that nobody knew about, that just, I don't know, just feels kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about this storyline with him or this gimmick that we're doing with him, but yeah, it's a gimmick.
Nice.
So at least the matches have been good, so I at least appreciate that much. Yes, Grand Slam is on Valentine's because they posted the gimmick, or they posted the graphic, and I think they said who will lose their hair on Valentine's night. See, there you go. Grand Slam is also on Valentine's night, hence OC and Tony Angle where she has to shave her head. Could be. But then if Marina gets pinned, Roddy has to do the honors. Oh my God, can you imagine? That would be so funny.
That would be funny.
Nikki said she could wear an old Hollywood hat.
She did. Tony could do anything, I think.
Yes.
You can make anything work for that.
Yes. Fernando says he wants Trent in this Yuta Orange story somehow. But Trent's a heel now, so he would be on Yuta's side because Trent is in Don Callis Family. So he would be the heel in this. And also, speaking of Trent, that reminded me, next Saturday, we're getting a parking lot match, which I'm super excited for because I loved the first two. And originally it was just supposed to be Eddie and Ortiz versus GYV, which would have been cool enough. But now we've made it an 8-man because Tony hates me and I have to cover this. And so now the Rascals are in it. And I forget who is on GYV's. Who else is in it with GYV? I know it's a 8-man match now, I believe. And so I was like, he hates me, and that's why he's making me cover this match. Yes, Lady Bird. Yes, Lady Bird Monroe does sound like it came from the 50s, and I think that's exactly why they put her in that match with Tony. Mm-hmm. Yes, Christian XO and is her name, and she is 6'2". Yes.
Oh, okay.
She looks. I have got to get caught up on ROH because that's how we got the Adam Priest storyline last night. That's how we got the Adam Priest match, was because of something with him and Rocky Romero, and then he challenged, because Rocky is in DCF. He challenged Okada. Somehow that makes sense, and that's how we got there. But good for Adam Priest, and it may also be because of who could get there during the snow. I don't know that would have been Anthony Henry in that spot had he been able to get there, but maybe that was also. I mean, like, I don't have a problem with Adam Priest wrestling that match. Yeah. Oh, that's right. The Andrade is his single and is in his Latin lover face. Oh yeah, no, I thought a lot about when they were doing, because Angel Garza was doing a very similar gimmick a couple of years ago where he was a Lothario and he was the Latin lover and he was doing the same thing, and then he got engaged in real life and they kind of pulled back on that. He said team him with Sobrano Jr., who is doing a similar gimmick in CMLL, and he's over huge. Oh, I mean, I could definitely see that doing that especially if they're going to send him down to CMLL.
Mm-hmm.
And so that definitely could be where they're. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you. That's Big Bill and Brian Keith. Oh, that's right, because GYV.
They attack them at the end. That's right.
That's right. GYV paid Brian Keith because he's the bounty hunter to have them. Yep, that's right. Thank you, Nikki. I knew. Yeah, because I was like, I like all the teams involved, but this is going to suck having to cover this match next Saturday. It'll be great to watch, but it's going to be a pain in my ass stuff to cover. Yeah, we do keep. Nikki said. TK said, y'all keep asking for GYV, so here damn. I'll take it. I want more GYV, so I'll take it. And
she'll suffer the coverage for the GYV.
I'm gonna complain about it.
Well, that's fine. You're allowed. That's what this platform's for.
Right.
You can say whatever you want. Well, I not whatever.
Michael says Story Denali is 6'3". Christian is 6'2", and Lena Cross is 6 foot, and Megan Bain is 5'11". Women's meet match or a basketball team? Maybe both. And then
why not both? Then
they seem to kind of tease a faction last night, because the women did actually main event last night. But then they had so it was obviously Sisters of Sin. They got the match if they stayed out of the match with Tekla and Stat. If they didn't get involved, they got a title match. So they did get that. Obviously, Babes of Wrath retained, but then after Tekla got involved, they were all getting beat down. But then Penelope comes. Oh no, because Stat came out there. Then Penelope comes out there, and so does Megan Bain. The show ends with those 5 women standing over the champions, and I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. Is this a new women's faction that we're building here?" And then when I was going to repost on Blue Sky that our show was live, somebody said, name this faction, and somebody quote tweeted it and said the Hurt Business, but it was HER in all caps and then a lowercase t.
Cute. I
was like, that's awesome. It's like, yeah. Yes, that Mark Sterling does keep saying that. That Story is 6'8". Oh, Mark Sterling. He's so funny. He's very good at his job. He's very good in his role. Fernando wants to know, should Megan Bain beat Chris for the title? What do you think?
I think Tekla's a better choice, but I wouldn't be sad if it was Megan Bain. I think either one of those two could definitely carry it.
I think it depends on where they're going with the tag titles.
I really
Megan and Penelope were originally supposed to win those titles to begin with. I think that they need to win them soon. I think they need to do something with Megan. They have long needed to do
something with her.
But I need them to make those tag titles more defined, and having 2 champions. I mean, having 2 titles on Willow. Again, Willow is the greatest. I love her. But you don't need a brand new title and the TBS title on her. You need one or the other. I don't like, and then they keep doing these matches where all the matches are in one title, all the titles are in one, or all the women's champions are in one match. And I don't like that. It feels very lazy. So I would rather Megan and Penelope take the tag titles, define them, make them, like, build them up, while Willow is defending the TBS championship and trying to build that title back up. And then at some point, we're obviously getting Mercedes is coming back and winning the women's championship at some point this year. Maybe at Worlds. Maybe that's how they end Worlds End. Maybe we end it with her finally getting the big one. Whatever it is, it should main event whatever show it's on. But yeah, I don't think it should be Megan. I think Megan needs the tag titles. This is going to be fun. I really like Jamie and Alex as a tag team. If they're not going to have Jamie having a singles title right now, then I think this is what they should be doing, is having Jamie and Alex helping to build up those tag titles. and build up that division and make those titles mean something. Brad says that he thinks it should be Tekla to beat Chris, Megan and Penelope for the tag titles, or, which I would really want Megan and Penelope to have it. But I also would not be mad if Triangle of Madness holds the titles. If you have Tekla being the women's champion and then you have Sisters of Sin as the tag team champions, you could do that at some point too. But I do really like Sisters of Sin, but I would rather it be on Megan and Penelope because I think that's where they were going anyway. But you've got to do something with Megan. But you also need to do something with Tekla. Crash said that Chris and Megan only had a match not too long ago on Dynamite or Collision. I think Chris won. I believe that you are correct. Brad says Megan and Penelope versus Jamie and Alex, which I think I did put that up there. That would be a really great feud. Tekla versus Stat was great. Definitely wanted Tekla to win. Me too. And Tekla has lost cleanly to Stat. And then Maria says to give us a different name for the new women's faction. Yeah, so it's really interesting what they're doing with the women's division. It feels like they're trying to build something up. So I'm trying to let it play out. But I really like Stat, but it feels like to me, like when Mercedes first came to AEW, she had a really hard time connecting with the fans for some reason in AEW. But then she'd have these matches in Japan and Mexico and could get, they could react. They really got her and really enjoyed her. But it kind of feels like that's what's happening with Stat. Like it feels like there's something that's missing from her title reign, and I can't quite put my finger on what that is. I don't know if it's because her character is kind of undefined and she's trying to figure out who that character is, and if that's what's not quite working. But it's interesting that, and I know this happens with every champion, but that you already have people wanting Tekla to take that title from Chris, and Chris just won this title in December, and so, or November, whatever it was. And so
in the grand scheme of things, I guess.
Yeah. I like, right, exactly. I think that's the other part of it, Michael. The men's title scene is white hot, and you need some intentionality behind the women's division now. Yes. And I think that's another part of it. It feels like the women are not getting the same type of, which has long been a story in AEW, that the women's title scene is struggling. And I don't know if part of that is because Stat is the champion. And again, I like Stat. I just don't know what she can do to make that connection. Maybe it's just continue having really great matches and figure out more of what her identity is as a champion and as a character. And again, we've talked about this a lot, that like we need to know that title has to be rebuilt away from Timeless Toni Storm. And what does that title mean when somebody else has it? And I think Chris is struggling to figure that out. And I think AEW is as well. And I think maybe it doesn't have to be, I don't want to say the men's title scene is crowded, but you've got like 7 people vying for that title where you don't have that in with either the TBS title or the women's championship. And so I think they've got to figure something out. And I'm hoping that maybe with this new women's faction, maybe that was, I don't know, maybe you belt up, oh, well, that would still leave somebody else. They maybe belt them all up, but that would still only be 4 titles. And I think there's 5 of them. So I guess that wouldn't quite work. And I think that's true too. Like Maria says that she's struggling to connect with the fans. Johnny says that fans don't trust her after what she did to Willow, which I think that is part of it. And I think that they did have to do, you can't have your babyface champion not being friends with your other big babyface champion, who is arguably the biggest babyface in your division. So they had to do it, but it was kind of weird how it happened. And then, yes, there was a lot of stop and start booking with Chris in the past. That has hurt her, and I think it's lingering here. And Crash says that she's not sure about the Stats Cosmic Killer gimmick is connecting, plus Tekla just kind of buried the idea in one promo. Stoke and her was interesting. Maybe it's a dynamic like that will elevate her there. Yeah, it feels like it's close to it. Like they're just on, like if they can get these like missing pieces, like it'll work. But it just feels like it's just not quite there. And I know the Cosmic Killer is trying to bring in the alien gimmick that got her to AEW in the first place, because that alien gimmick was really over on the indies. It's what got her into the company. And then she abandoned it, obviously, to become, I guess, more serious or whatever. And I think then you had the heel turn with her didn't really work. And then obviously the story with her and Willow was kind of rushed and stopped and started. So yeah, I think there's like a number. I don't think it's just one thing. But I do agree with Michael that they need the same intentionality with the women's, like people who want this title and people who want the TBS title, I think. But hopefully they'll start getting their stuff figured out. Yeah, definitely needs some refining, and if she's comfortable, something's not right. Yeah, and I think that's why I can't put my finger on it. And I think maybe it's because it's not just.
A lot of people struggle with it because that's a sort of a conversation I see going on regularly. It's like we don't hate stat, we just don't know what it is that's not connecting.
Right, and it's not the one. I don't think it's just one thing. I think that's another reason it's not working. It's not like, oh, fix this one thing and everything will work. I don't think it's that
though. Because I mean, you could argue that the same kinds of things have happened with Hangman, who's like one of the hottest guys ever, and they've the 2 times that they've had him as champion. I mean, what are you doing? It's been not. So I'm not saying that Stat has a lot of responsibility. She has to obviously grab the bag too, and she needs to do something with it, and that can be really difficult. That's a lot of pressure. Right. At the same time, you can only work with what you're booked to do too.
And also, I think there's also a conflict because yes, she's the Cosmic Killer, but a lot of them refer to her as Stat Daddy, which is what she's referred to.
Stat Daddy thing, but then
and you had that. What people were referred to her a lot on the internet because of the things that because she's very strong and she's like weightlifting other women and like just so they have like the Stat Daddy side of things, but then that is not in alignment with the Cosmic Killer, and you've got to do. And I feel like I think at this point you're gonna have to.
Like that's the stat I think that she was the most comfortable as.
Right. And so I was like, you kind of have to do one or the other. And you can kind of do it like, I mean, because obviously Tony is an original and Tony is going to do things her own way, but she's able to put that sexuality into her gimmick without it feeling forced. And not that I think that Stat is making this feel forced, but I think that there is an online version of how people view Stat versus what we're getting from her character. And I think people can't separate. Like, I think people want the Stat Daddy version of Chris, not the Cosmic Killer version of Chris. And you don't have but even sometimes you have on commentary them referring to her as Stat Daddy because that's what the other women, Tekla calls her that. Other Harley calls her that. And so I think that
consistency
she's either got to figure out a way to make both of those work together, or she's just going to have to go the Stat Daddy route and drop Cosmic Killer. And like Crash says, that Cosmic Killer suggests like a monster, a universe killer, and Cosmic Killer sounds like more like a heel than a baby face. And I think people want the Stat Daddy version of her because that's
more like that is more reminiscent of Becky Lynch's man gimmick or something on that front, where she's like a big badass, and she's possessing that word, and it's like, okay, big Stat Daddy is kind of like where you see her is like, she's not going to copycat, but she can do it in her own way. She's great. Right. Chris has got all of the elements are present. It's just putting them all together and making that work in a way that connects with all the audience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And I think
you're right.
You can tell that she feels a little bit too, so I'm sure that that's creeping into her.
Right.
We all have issues. We all have imposter syndrome. We all have these things. I mean, even like when you were talking to Scarlett Harris there, and she talked about going to WrestleMania while having social anxiety, which is something I totally relate to.
Yeah,
that's tricky, and it's especially for us ladies, better or worse, there is a little bit more of a microscope on us when we're doing stuff like that than there is on a dude. In that, it's just the way it is. That's kind of I'm not like, it's just kind of true. We are held to a different standard. When we start to get older, we start to do this. Our opportunities begin to thin out. We don't get to be grandpa. Like, we don't get to play the old wizened old man. Like, it's like, see you, lady. So I mean, it's got to be tough. It's a lot of pressure, and
it is. And again, I think there is a lot of pressure from maybe it's pressure Chris puts on herself, but I think there's pressure coming off of Timeless Tony's title reign. having
That's
that
hard.
title, because that title, she had that title for a long time, and then even when Mariah had it, it was still about Tony. And then Tony briefly got the title back, and so that title needs its own identity, and so maybe there's that too with like, how do I make this title my own, and how do I elevate it to the next level? And then also, but I mean, that's the same thing. Like, I think if Tekla is the one to take that title off of her, then Tekla has to build that title up. And of course, it maybe is not going to be built up in the way that Tony did it, because Tony is like a once in a generation type of character, and everything just kind of went along perfectly. But I think we need to see who that. I mean, you can even see that with like even Roman Reigns. He held that title for so long. Like, who is this title away from Roman Reigns? Who is this title away from her? Who is even? And then now Willow is going to have to do that again. I mean, yes, she's been TBS champion before, but like, who is that title away from Mercedes Moné? Mercedes had it for 584 days. We've seen that title from, what it went to with Jade, where Jade had the undefeated streak. Stat had the title. Stat had the TBS title. So did Willow, and Mercedes beat Willow for that title. And then she held it for so long. And then now Willow has it, but she also has the tag title. And so now that TBS title, like, you don't want it to just become a prop. And I think that's part of the issue that you've got to, they've got to figure out. And, and I agree. Yeah, I do like that they had Stat and Willow reconnect by beating up Mercedes, and that worked for them. And you kind of got rid of that one, because you can't have your baby face champions hating each other. You've gotta, and so they made it work by having Mercedes be kind of the foil there. And Michael said, yeah, that's Sam. She's trying to do too much without defining who she's supposed to be. Just gotta pick a lane. Yeah, and I think if they give her the time, she can. Or maybe she needs to lose the title, refine this gimmick, refine this character, figure out who she is, and then come back for the time, and then win it again. And like, then maybe the title, maybe it'll connect more with fans, like, if that happens. And I don't know if they have, of course, because I don't know, obviously generally with the men's championship, they book out, they know who like the next 5 champions are going to be. Do they do that with the women? Do they know who the next 5? Did they know Mercedes was going to hold this? I mean, I'm sorry, not Mercedes. That Tony was going to do this title. Chris was gonna win it, and this like flashman kind of way have to define herself as, I can actually beat Toni Storm. I don't have to just be a quick win. Like, do they know who's taking it off of Chris? And do they know the next 2 champions? Like, do they look at the women's championship the way that they do the men's world championship? Do they book it out where, okay, the next 5 people who are going to hold this title for the women are these 5 women? Like, are they going to give her the title? So I think that kind of, going back to the intentionality, like, do they give that same effort, or is it only the men's championship that they know who the next like 4 or 5 champions are going to be? So I think there's that too. The Crash says that he can kind of see what they're going for, almost stats, costume, etc. It's almost like it's a Blade Runner type of dystopian kind of character and presentation that could be very cool, but it's not there yet. Like, yeah, I think that, like Mel said, like, all the pieces are there. They're just not one cohesive thing yet. And so it's making it hard to connect with her. And because she was kind of, when she won the title, she was kind of like, is she a heel or is she not? Like, is she going to join Death Riders or is she not? And then it kind of turns out that Jon Moxley was pushing her to be the person he knew she could be to make her win that title. So I guess that's, kind of the catalyst for it. But at the time that it happened, it was kind of like, is she going heel or is she not? And so I think that's been another thing with the character. I mean, with the fans not knowing what Chris is doing. Clearly we know she's a babyface now, and we're trying to, and people are like, they like her and enjoy her, but like you said, I think it's just trying to connect all the dots and making it all work. Fernando, I think that you're not the only one that hoped that was going to be Willow who beat Chris. But now they're not doing that. So it'll be really interesting the way. And how is this women's division operating without Mercedes being in it? How long is Mercedes going to be gone? And you have to, of course, Mercedes is a huge, huge part of this roster, or this division, but like, you need the other women have got to step up in her absence and figure this out. But also you need the booking support behind that. Like, you need, and you need them to put in the time and effort that they're putting into the men that they put into the women. Yeah, I can see that too, that if you're a cosmic killer, you tend to be a loner, you don't need anyone else, and she's still with the best friends conglomeration linked up, which doesn't help. I mean, that's a fair point. Yes, and before I do want to say hello to Tom. Thank you for stopping in. Hope that you are doing well. But yeah. Michael says, or you can just book her to wrestle. That's one of the worst parts of this run. She's barely on TV. Tony was on every week, present and wrestling, the focus of the division. Right. And when she wasn't wrestling, and even they were doing that with Athena for a good chunk of her run in ROH. When she wasn't defending her title, she was on the shows. She was cutting promos. She was continuing her story. She was doing the MIT stuff with Billy and building up Billy, and even Lexi was in that part as well, so she was elevating other women at the same time. So when she wasn't having matches, she was still a presence. And look at Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is the international, not international, he's a continental champion, but Jon Moxley is flying out and doing live promos, and that's it. Like,
he's always present. He's always there
on TV. He's always there. He's helping. If he's not in a match, then he's hyping up one of the Death Riders, or he's jumping on commentary. And we've talked about it before. One thing I love about Jon on commentary is he is so good at hyping up the women. Mm-hmm. He hypes up the women's division so much, and he hypes up the women who are in the ring in front of him. I mean, obviously he does it with everybody that he's watching, but he's really good about hyping up the women, which I really appreciate that Jon Moxley is vocally on TV. Because we knew, obviously in the beginning, that Kenny Omega was very much involved with the women's division, especially with the Joshi women, and he was very big on getting these Joshi women to sign. And then he was gone for a bit. And so that obviously he stepped back from that. So I appreciate that Jon Moxley is a cheerleader for women's wrestling on TV. I really appreciate that from him. He says, yes, they love the Okada fears Takeshita's aside. Okada's seen it. Me thinks, I think he absolutely did. And Nikki pointed out that Okada's trunks kind of look like Takeshita's symbol with he was using the red and yellow kind of design on his pants, and that's kind of a Takeshita type thing. And I appreciate, shout out to the person who had the Protostar for the G1 sign, because I would love to see him in the G1. And Tony has said there will be, I don't know how many AEW wrestlers will be in it. Maybe it's just Takeshita, but you could have, and if you have Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher in the G1, awesome. That could lead to some really cool storyline stuff. I would love to see Kyle Fletcher. So and Kyle saw it, he tweeted it. And so I would love to see Kyle Fletcher be in the G1.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So
it can only improve. It can only improve you if you're on his level, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That would be amazing.
So the only reason Billy Gunn was in that match is because Ace Austin couldn't get there. It was supposed to be Ace Austin and Austin Gunn, but Ace Austin couldn't get there. He couldn't make his flight, so Billy was there because that collision was supposed to be in Arlington, but because of the ice, they filmed it after the Orlando show. Ace couldn't get to that show. Billy was there, so they're like, "Can you come wrestle with your son for this one match?" So I thought it was Billy Gunn can still go. I don't need to see him all the time, but if we're doing occasional things like that, listen, I'd rather see him on my TV than QT Marshall. So, so I would rather have Billy Gunn. I don't want the Bang Bang Gang to disband. I don't want that because I love them and I want them to all be healthy.
Yes, truly healthy.
So I believe we have come to an end. I'm sure we could talk for a lot longer, but my voice is starting to cut out already. And also, we have to save some of this for next week, because next week is our giant 200th episode on Super Bowl Sunday. We have to see. I know Super Bowl Sunday is important, especially if your team is in it. Mel's gonna be like, get us out of here at 3:00. I gotta have time to pregame.
Well, I mean, we're gonna go up the street to some buddies, and we're all gonna hang out in their space, and they've got a spot for all of us. We're gonna make some food.
Well, if we can get you out of
how we want to do it and where we want, and because we could stay home, but it was our friends are excited because I live in Detroit Metro, so obviously Lions fans need to have something to do this time of year because their team's never, ever, ever, ever in the Super Bowl. I'm really sorry. But they do like to have a reason to get excited, is what I've noticed. So because Bob and I are excited that the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, it's making our friends excited to be have the because there were two different parties that were like shaping up, and it was like, let's do this one because it's more chill and it's more fun and there'll be dogs, and it was like, yeah. So I mean, very excited, very hype about next week. There's a lot of weird.
If we need to get you out of here at a certain time so that you can go.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news about it is that either of the places I would be going are like up the street in either direction. So
okay. But we want you to have time to get into Seahawks mode. I mean, so hopefully you'll be good and hype because we'll celebrate episode 200 and then
it's so funny that it ended up falling like because of just timing. It fell on
Super Bowl. If I had, it would have been today had I not had we not been worried about the power situation. It would have been, and then we're gonna
crisis. You've been trying to vote against it and do the things you can do against it your entire life, like the rest of us. But because we don't have seats of power and lots 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 of money, we can only like call senators and write letters and clean up trash in our backyard and stuff. Or doing our part.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Yes. We appreciate you doing your part. And then then we'll be celebrating our 4-year anniversary at the end of the month. So we have 2 huge milestones this month. And then so we'll come get you hyped for the Super Bowl. You can come be hyped for our 200th episode, get hyped for the Super Bowl. Or if you're not hyped for the football, get hyped for Bad Bunny doing a halftime concert all in Spanish and pissing off all the right people.
Really, really, really badly because some of the people around here are kind of, in that group of people who say the things. I've been really badly wanting to learn a bunch of Bad Bunny music just because it always brings me great joy when I'm sitting there with a bunch of fuddies who are like, no one knows this person's language. Like when Snoop did Thanksgiving.
Oh my God.
And it was there where we were with some people who were like, you can't understand what they're saying anyway. And Bob and I just start singing along. It always makes us, we just love it. It brings us joy. It's like, first of all, we've known Snoop since we were young people. So, I mean, the dude's been around forever. It's like everybody.
You can tell when millennials are in charge of booking things because like we watched the Golden Globes a few weeks ago and a millennial was in charge of the music because of you could definitely tell. You could definitely tell a millennial was in charge of the music for that podcast, for that show.
They just get so hurt about the picking of the middle of the Super Bowl hat. I'm like, you guys, they've got you already. They're looking for young people to continue to watch this. This is one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Yeah.
You don't book the Rolling Stones in 2026, okay?
Really sorry. And on top of that, they're doing the pre-show that's to celebrate 60 years in the NFL, and they picked Green Day. They know exactly what they're doing. They're picking two. I was like, they know what they're doing by having Green Day and Bad Bunny on the same show.
That's one's for Gen X, one's for Gen Z, and then the millennials.
They also know that Green Day is they had a song called American Idiot about George Bush. So, and they're clearly very vocal about the current administration. They know what they're doing by booking a show with both Green Day and Bad Bunny on it. Bad Bunny sings 0 songs in English. Every single song is in Spanish. So I just hope that Bad Bunny finds a way to do a Canadian Destroyer in his halftime show because he had an incredible. He did it at the pay-per-view that he was on. He did an incredible Destroyer on Damian Priest. I just want him to figure out a way to do a Destroyer during the halftime show. I really would like that to happen.
Amazing.
Also, Brad has sent us a little note that if we're looking for guests to come chat next week. And we have a request for Keela. Which Keela is a power bombshell. She lost the honorary title when she came and filled in for me last week. So if she's available next week, she can come. If she wants to come to our 4th, I think she's come to all of our birthday parties. I think she's come to all of them. But Keela Cash has an open invite. If she wants to come
She's
7
an
weeks,
official broad. She is.
if she wants to come 7 weeks in a row, she can come. So she can come anytime she wants.
Yeah,
All she's got to do is say, "Send me the link," and she can come in.
A certain person from a Gulf area has spoken to me about potentially swinging by. Who has a famous puppy who some of you might know from some previous shows here on the Fight Game Media. So he mentioned that if I reminded him about 200, he might come.
I hope so.
Around. So
yes.
you know, no, we don't put pressure on our folks because we want them to feel comfortable. But also,
if they can swing by, they're more than welcome to come.
Love,
yes, and then yes, Crash. I did see that conversation that you were having, and then I got distracted because Collins was here. Yeah, I could not figure out what was going on with Don when he was talking with his mouth full, and apparently from the chat, it was him losing his dentures.
His dentures come out. I hate when that happens.
Because they called him, because Kenny Omega called him from the back, and he came out, and I was like, was he eating in the back? What is happening? But no, apparently it was his dentures.
I mean,
out.
Makes total sense. This happens. I mean, stuff it's not infallible.
No.
That denture concrete, man, just comes off.
Yes. I'll have to see if Collins can. I'll let Collins know that they're welcome to come by too.
Throw it out there to peoples.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. We just appreciate you guys have been here for this many episodes, even if it's your first episode.
Yeah, if this is your first episode, if episode 199 is your first episode, welcome. We hope you come back. Come celebrate 200 episodes. Come celebrate in a couple of weeks when we do 4 years. If you've been here since day one,
I got a special. I've been looking this year. I was playing, so I got a special birthday hat for that day though already.
Yay! I still have my birthday stuff from that you sent me a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'll probably put the happy birthday banner back up, but I picked a different hat for this year. I was trying to be me like at the end of holidays and stuff when they're doing clearance.
Oh right, yeah.
Best
That's
time
smart.
to clean up on my hat situation around the end.
Yeah,
of
that's very smart. Yeah.
Coming up like right before spring when they get rid of all the winter hats.
Yes. So come pregame with us next week before the Super Bowl or before the Bad Bunny concert, whichever one you're watching for. Or if you're not watching any of it, come hang out with us anyway. And we'll be
Sunday.
back
like it.
Yeah, Sunday at 1:00 Eastern time. And come hang out with us. We'll see you next week.
Yes, we will. Have a good week, everyone.